with the above 50 concept for you to make money. Anybody who is above 50 and has no car of ease or no house of ease or a home has not been living standard. So above 50 concept is not just to play football alone, but to help you to keep fit, to keep you healthy, and make you to live standard life and make money. That is what we're doing. And as I speak with you, Brazil has embraced it. Mexico has written to us that they will want to play with us. The last competition we had 8 clubs. Ajegule, Surulere, Redeem, Etiraikate, Abeokuta, all of them, they came to play at the National Stadium. And the prize, the winner's prize was 5 million, which was paid instantly. The second place was 2 million, while the top place was 1 million. And we put a lot of money in organizing that. We are going to start the second edition very soon. We are now having clubs from Benin, Edo, where people from Abuja, people from Kwara registering to be part of the above 50 football. How much do they put into sports? What you have in sports is noise. How much money do they put into sports? They need more money to run sports, particularly the development of the sports, not just taking part in competitions. Because if you have to develop sports, it takes a lot of money. And all those successful countries doing sports, it's because they have put money into its development. So government has got to put more money into the development of sports. Fantastic women. They've done us proud severally, having been champions of Africa for 9 times. I don't think any country in Africa can boast of that. But beyond that, we should also realize that these ladies, they are getting old. Some of them are 40, 38, 36, down the ladder. You need replacements for them. That's where we're asking that we should put more money. We should put more focus in the development of sports, both male and female. I think with what the female national team has done for Nigeria, we owe it a duty to put more money into the development of female football. I'm not thinking about that. If I want to, I would have been in politics, party politics. I would have been there, and by now I think I would have been something else. But no, I chose to be part of giving an image to Nigeria, a good image, positive one. Take, for instance, if you go out of the country, you get to the entry point of any country, and you speak of our sports. They give you a wide latitude for you to go in. Well, you say when you get there, you speak sports. They ask you, where's Kano? Where's Okocha? Where's Finidi? Where's Amokachi? That means they recognize Nigeria sports. In fact, that's the only thing we can be proud of right now. Every other thing we talk in diversities. But when it comes to sports, every one of us were together. If the Nigerian team is playing and a Christian has to pray, and he say, I pray that the Super Eagles wins today's match, in Jesus' name I pray. Even the Muslim will say amen. So together in sports, where in this country, football and sports is a lifeline, particularly football. Football unites not just the states, it unites the country, it unites the countries of the world. So I believe we can do much more in promoting and supporting our sports so that we get the best benefits, as we say. First and foremost, I want to use this opportunity once again to congratulate him on his appointment. I've met him twice now, and I'm going to meet him soon again. And why am I going to meet him is to advise him on what I think from my own views and from what I've seen to improve sports. First, we have talked about it. The development of sports is key, not just the taking part in competitions. Because if you are not developing sports, you are only taking in competition. If you don't win, what happens? But if you develop sports, one, you are helping the youth. Two, you are helping the nation. Three, you are growing the economy. And thirdly, you are removing restiveness and restlessness of the youth in the society. I want us to advise the minister to key into the development of sports from the grassroots. Let's go back to the schools. Let's go back to the rural areas. Football is played everywhere. Go under the bridges, you see people playing football. Let the minister put in place, through the NFF, a consortium of coaches that will go to these schools, that will go to these corners. Everywhere in Nigeria, you have talents that can be helped, sponsored, and nurtured to stardom. Once we do that, our sports will improve. And let the minister put his feet there on ground and say, every club that is playing in the Premiership and the National League must have their feeder teams, must have their own fields and other infrastructures to make them develop sports. Thank you very much. I want to pray for this organization to continue to thrive, to continue to blossom in making money, because without money, this kind of things that I hear cannot be sustained. So God will grow you the more, and your business will continue to flourish.
Lesotho, a country like no other on the African continent, and in fact, like no other in the world. Nestled entirely within the borders of South Africa, Lesotho holds a unique geographical distinction. It is the only independent nation on Earth located entirely above 1,000 meters in elevation. Its lowest point, at 1,400 meters above sea level, is higher than the highest points in countries like Netherlands, Denmark, or even the United Kingdom. This extraordinary altitude earns Lesotho its nickname, the Kingdom in the Sky. Lesotho is one of just 3 countries in the world that are completely surrounded by one other country, the others being San Marino and Vatican City in Italy. But unlike them, Lesotho is not a microstate. It boasts a proud population, a strong cultural identity, and a landscape marked by rugged mountains, deep valleys, and fast-flowing rivers. What also makes Lesotho stand out in Africa is its climate. While much of the continent is known for its warmth, Lesotho regularly experiences snowfall, especially in its highland regions. In fact, it is home to Afriski, Africa's only ski resort south of the equator, drawing tourists who seek winter sports in an unlikely location. But Lesotho's uniqueness goes beyond geography and weather. The Basotho people are known for their iconic wool blankets, worn with pride across the country. These are not just for warmth, they are deeply symbolic, representing milestones, rites of passage, royalty, and social status. No traditional ceremony is complete without the presence of these beautifully patterned and color-coded blankets.
Hello and welcome to Just Africa on SOUQ News Television. Here we explore ideas and the people that shape the continent of Africa. You know, we bring in and we tell the African stories differently. My name is Omevi Idolo, and today there is an interesting topic that we really want to talk about. When we talk about businesses in Africa, most of the time, people just feel it's a business. But you agree with me that most businesses are remain in the position of a small-scale business. And the big question is, why are businesses not scaling up? Why are businesses on the same level? Why do people do businesses just on daily survival instead of thinking about the future? So most of the time when people think of, okay, let's do business, they just feel, no, the success of it or the bigger aspect of it becomes an afterthought, which is not supposed to be. So today we have a guest that will be telling us more on how to scale up businesses, how to make that your small scale business become something big in the nearest future, how you manage your finances, how you do it from his wealth of experience. He's going to tell you all that. But right now I have to go on this quick break, and when we return, you'll be meeting our special guest. Stay with us. Yeah, welcome back to Just Africa. So you can follow us on all our social media platforms at SOUQ News Television and subscribe to the Just Africa show. So today we ask the big question, why African businesses stay small? Why? I don't know if you have the answer, but hey, first of all, to help us answer that question, we have someone who understands businesses very well. So to help us in this area is Ogenetega Abija Victor. He is the CEO of Avid Agency, and he's joining us to unpack this challenge from the perspective of a business development strategist working directly with African businesses. Once again, should I call you Ogenetega? Should I call you Victor? Should I call you Abija? Which one do you?
Yeah, Victor is fine.
But I like calling people by their native names.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, how was getting to the studio today?
Yeah, it was fine.
Okay. All right. So when we talk about small businesses, why do you think, from your perspective, having worked with Avid Agency, why do you think businesses remain small in Africa?
Okay. I would say one of the reasons is most businesses, they launch without any plan. They're just going to the market, at least let them get there first, without proper planning. And that thing is they try to do the business in isolation. They don't recognize that they can collaborate with other businesses to help grow. So those are one of the reasons. Okay,
so for a business that is starting up or that has started, what are the early signs? You know that, yes, this business is not doing well. What are the early signs to show that this business is not going to survive standing alone?
Okay, it comes down to planning. Was there any thought going into starting this business? Do you actually have an audience you are servicing? So if you don't have a logical plan, and then you're launching a business and you really don't have audience for that business, let's say in your location, it doesn't make sense to launch a business about, let's say, food for dogs in a community where people don't train dogs. It's not going to be profitable. But launching a business, let's say, in a community where they need that set service, then the business is going to go well. Even if you don't have strategic planning, if you have a good audience, you can at least to an extent be successful.
If you don't have a strategic plan and you have a good audience, the business, that is not very clear, because most people believe that for you to start a business, you must have at least 3 to 6 months plan, let's say quarterly or a yearly plan for the business to start. So if there is no strategic plan, where would you, and you have the audience, where would you be driving that kind of business to?
Okay, so it depends on the scale of the business, number one. And it also depends on the scale of the business. Let me start with that. Depending on the scale of the business. So when you talk about something being successful, it could be in a small scale that, let's say a food company, someone who has a small mama put.
Yeah.
The scale you used to judge that business of being successful is different from the scale you used to judge a proper restaurant.
Okay.
Yes. So if it's just that first scale, a small mama put can open close to, let's say, an hospital, and maybe there are banks that have a lot of crowd coming in. That mama put is going to do well because she's in the right place. She doesn't really need to have strategic plan that everything to play or now she will market. She's just existing in that space. that already has a lot of people who are looking for, oh, I'm waiting in this place, I'm hungry, let me just buy something to eat. So they will go and meet her.
Okay.
Do you get?
Yeah.
So in that scenario now, that's a small scale of success, but basically doesn't really require much planning. I'm saying that because I don't want people to get stuck in the idea of before they start a business, they have to plan for months. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you can get up and running and then you can revise your plan and you keep moving. But you have to have a plan because for that woman to open that mama put in that place, she thought about it that, oh, maybe a lot of people are complaining that they are waiting, they don't have anything to eat, and maybe the nearest place to buy food is very far.
Okay.
So that's why she opened it. So of course there was a plan, but the plan is not yet fully formed. And that's just one thing that businesses should not focus on, that you must have everything figured out before you launch, but it's also good to have a good level of planning.
What does it take to have a strategic plan?
Okay, so you have to put a lot of things into thoughts.
Okay.
Number one, who are the audience? Who are your target audience? So for instance, let's keep on using the scenario of the woman who owns the mama put.
Yeah.
In that case, our audience are the customers who are waiting for those services, maybe like for the bank, or they are waiting there to write exams or something going on in that scenario. Those are our target audience, people who are waiting patient, who are waiting for something and they don't have anything to do. And most of the time they go there very early because there are in some regions when you have to go to the bank, you have to wake up very early to go there so you can be attended to on time. So in that kind of scenario now, those people would not eat from home. They get there, they will get hungry after a while, but they don't want to go too far, so they don't lose their spot.
Yeah.
So that's like a perfect scenario for her. So that's the first plan. She understands her target audience, and she knows how to fulfill the needs of that target audience. So that's one of the parts when it comes to strategic planning. And after that, you have to now plan, okay, how do you intend on scaling? How do you intend on moving forward? So you see some businesses who they are doing very well in that particular region, but then they don't plan moving forward. They just remain like that. So without any planning, that woman will just remain like that. Of course, she's making sufficient amount of money, but it's still not as much as she could do.
Yeah, because we have actually seen people, they put in so much effort, they do their marketing and they do everything they can do, but that scaling is not there. Are there factors that are responsible for that?
I would say one of them would be like the relationship, because in the case of that woman now, she could simply speak to those companies that are there, and they will have like a relationship. So they can refer her that, oh, if you are hungry, while people are waiting, or someone is hungry, just go to this place. She says food, the place is not far from here. Like that relationship between the companies and the woman, and also it can also be in such a way that those companies, any other place they have like a branch, that woman can also have a branch. It's like a collaboration. They don't have to worry about the whole having food supply to sell. They don't have to worry about the infrastructures of that. The woman will fulfill those needs. All they have to just do is making sure that the woman is in collaboration with the woman, and that will increase their client satisfaction. So now they won't go there and start waiting and start complaining. When they are waiting, they know they have food to eat. They can just relax and wait. So that reduces the tension that they would experience in the case of a bank. Because people who are hungry, they are going to be angry. Any small thing, they will start getting pissed. But if their tummy is full, they can actually relax and say, okay, they've eaten. They're just waiting for their turn in the bank.
Yes. Now, let's talk about partnership. Most businesses, I don't know if I should say they are scared of partnership or maybe other reasons. But why do you think that most African businesses don't go into partnership?
I would say a lot of them, they don't understand what partnership is. They don't understand that you need to mutually benefit in order to be a partner.
Okay.
And most people, when they think about partnership, they think about, okay, this person is doing very well. Let me just try and leverage on it without bringing anything to the table. And no business-minded person would just see you want to leech off from them, just want to keep collecting from them without giving anything in return. So that way, they will not want to partner with you.
So what do business owners need to know, or someone who has a business and want to partner? How do you help the person identify the right partner for their businesses to grow? Okay.
So one thing is, when you're looking for someone to partner with, this person has to have similar audience type with you or similar target audience.
Okay.
So in the case of, let's say, a gym and maybe a food company, they have similar audience because a lot of people who are at the gym, they're either trying to lose weight or they're trying to gain weight.
Yes, yes.
So a food company can easily collaborate with the gym company to give them pre-planned meal for, let's say, bulking or weight loss.
Okay.
So that's like a collaboration. They have similar audiences, and the audience will the service of the gym is going to complement that of the food company. So that works very well. Okay,
so those are there particular things businesses need to look out for before they go into partnership? Because we have seen, I have seen a business owner who is so scared of going into business or into partnership, not for any reason, but the idea of someone will steal it from me.
Okay.
Someone will steal my business. Or this person might just come up, take whatever profit it is. And there's certain things that business owners need to look out for when they are picking partners for their businesses.
Okay, so after identifying the people you want to partner with, you have to go into conversations with them. You outline what you want to do and what you intend to give to them and what you intend to benefit from them. After establishing that, it's now about like having a contract that, okay, for during the course of this agreement, you can have access to information or you can have access to certain inside secrets based on you are in a collaboration with the person. But it has to be bounded with a contract, because that's one reason why if you are not so sure what to do, it's good to use a professional than doing it yourself. But the thing is, having a contract helps you protect yourself, because there's a contract signed now that you are giving the person access to this information or access to your audience for the extended period because of this partnership. So they cannot now use that against you because there's a contract. So I think one thing is very important. Let everything go through the proper system. Have a contract signed up for any partnership you're getting.
But does partnership in the real sense, does partnership really help to generate revenue for businesses? Or yes, can you give us any practical example?
Okay. I'll give you a practical example. So currently, the business development manager for Jazzy's Burger, we have a collaboration with Vanity Club in Lagos, here in VI. So what happens is, you know, most people when they go to the club, of course there are drinks there, but they might get hungry, they want to eat something. Now having a collaboration with Jazzy's Burger, so they say stand outside. Once you want to order burger, you actually don't have to go outside to order the burger. There will be girls moving around in the club telling you, okay, we have Jazzy's Burger here, just place your order. And once they order, the burgers are delivered to them. That is in a way, people, once they eat more, they want to drink more, because people won't drink on an empty stomach. So that way, Jazzy's Burger benefits from sales and Vanity benefits from higher client satisfaction. And also, for that kind of partnership, there's also a revenue split. So every money that comes from sales goes to Vanity. So there's a
because I really
benefit,
I wanted to. Yes, that mutual benefit was my next question. Really, when you say mutual benefits, when we say mutual benefit, are we talking about what just benefits a particular partner, or there is something beyond mutual benefit? Is it 50-50? Is it how it works for a particular partner? When we talk about mutual benefit when it comes to business, what does that really mean?
Okay, it doesn't always have to be financial. It could be maybe launching a product together. That's co-owning a product. For instance, it could be maybe a clothing brand collaborating with a gym company, and now they are launching a gym clothes collection. So now, basically, both of them own the merch, and they sell, and they make, and there's a profit split. But it's in that case, they are launching a product together, and not just initially for the benefit of money coming in, but definitely money will also be involved.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right. Money involved. We have also seen money tear people apart.
Yes, that's true.
You understand? So, especially when it comes to partnership that we are having, the conversation we are having now. So, how do you think that business owners that are trying to collaborate with other partners who may not be in their line of businesses, how do they manage, can they manage financial crisis when it comes to disagreements in partnership, financial disagreement?
Okay, so this comes back to what I said about a contract. So when there is a contract established that in this deal, you get 20% of sales,
Okay.
and there's transparency involved. That is, it's not you're trying to cheat the person. You're actually sending financial reports. Okay, these were the sales this week.
Yeah.
We made sales of, let's say, 2 million, and this is your percentage coming to your account, and it's being paid. Everything is done in truth and honesty. That would prevent the likelihood of them being an issue with the financial crisis. But if then it happens, maybe something else happens, and it's best to actually sit down and have a proper conversation to know what went wrong and how you can better improve the deal.
Wow, that's a beautiful one. Yes, Tega has been Victor. I'm trying to call him by the name he's comfortable with. He has been telling us about businesses, how partnership works, how to scale up your business in this part of the world where we have trust issues, where we have money issues. And you know, he just made an important point where he said you should go through the right process, maybe through the legal process, and any form that is you seem right for your business partnership to grow. It's very important. Okay, so how can entrepreneurs choose the right partners without losing control? Now, some partners come into businesses, and most of the time, they want to take over. A very good example that I have seen was a lady who is into this Afrocentric eyewear was bringing in 80, she felt she was bringing in 80% because the one who owns the business she was the one making them. She was trying to bring in money to finance it.
Okay.
So at a point she was like, okay, whatever comes out, she's going to go with 80% and the lady will go with 20%. And that was the disagreement. Now she wanted to take control of an existing business. So how do I partner without losing control of my business?
Okay, so for that now, it really dwells down to the conversation you had initially.
Okay.
Yes. So you need to understand your business. You need to an extent, understand what you are doing. And that's why it's always best to get a professional. Because for instance now, you're not feeling too well.
Yeah.
And you want to go to the clinic. You don't go, let's say, try and research it yourself. You go and see a doctor. You see a nurse to attend to you also. Because you have to rely on the professionals. And I think that's one reason a lot of businesses get into all these issues. They are not going through the right system. If you are reaching out to a professional, like myself, who is a business development manager, if you're reaching out to me to negotiate a deal, it's different. I already know the mistakes I would have made in the past, some things that are very common mistakes, some issues, and I will know how to handle it better than you, who you are trying to wear multiple caps. You are already the founder. You're also the one doing marketing. You're doing everything yourself. So, like, you need professionals to help you fill in that gap because you don't have the necessary knowledge on how to negotiate a deal. And that could be why you would lose control based on you were not able to negotiate well. And you also need a lawyer to go through said contracts.
But people still breach the contract. Even when there is a signed contract, people still go ahead and they breach it. That is when someone will start telling you maybe there is a clause, there is one thing, there is one thing at some point.
Yeah, and that's why it's necessary to go through the right system, have a professional look at the contract because they will identify things that you would not identify.
Okay, so we still have some very big African companies, established companies that don't move from one location. Okay. They are just in one place. So they don't scale. So why do you think those businesses are like that? Is it a personal decision or something could be responsible?
Well, it could depend on a lot of things. One of them you just said, it could be their decision that they are okay with the market they're already in and they don't want to scale moving forward. That's possible. And that thing could be getting to a new market is a bit complicated because even in Nigeria we're in, the market in Lagos is different from the market in Abuja. The market in Abuja is different from the market in Benin or in Warri.
Okay.
They are entirely different. So to an extent, you need to understand the market before you get into it. And that's why companies that already exist in Africa moving to Europe might be a bit difficult.
Yeah.
Because the market scale is different. I can use an example, like us here in Africans, we tend to want to show off. So businesses that really involve making you feel on top of the world, making you feel like an elite.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will do well, especially in cities like Lagos. Do you get?
Yes. Okay. All right. So now looking ahead, looking at other businesses, looking at Africa, looking at Nigeria, looking at Lagos, do you think that partnership scale business is more than just being in isolation?
I believe partnership scale business is faster. I can just give you a made-up scenario. Let's say there are two businesses that want to launch at the same time, and one person is person just created the page, already had like an idea for the business and starts the business. While another person looks at the business, okay, I'm coming in as a clothing brand. How can I leverage on other people that exist? And for instance, I'm shouting out to Ugo Chris, one of the clothing brands I work with. So for instance, now we're trying to work towards launching the clothing brand. We can, instead of just launching the clothing brand and working like that, running ads, maybe doing shoots, every other thing, how about I partner with a gym like iFitness?
Okay.
And after partnering with iFitness, we launch a gym collection together. Now, compared to the clothing brand A that started and the clothing brand B, which is Ugo Creeks case, they're going to do better. Because now, for instance, iFitness already have the members, they already have the target audience. They have people who come to the gym every day.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's easier for people now to see the clothes in the gym and be like, okay, I want to get this.
Okay.
Or I want to buy this particular gym where this is actually January, when a lot of people are coming back to the gym after like New Year, New Me kind of thing. So this is actually a very good time. And they will be so interested in wanting to get new gym wears.
Yeah.
So that's like a perfect thing. But this other person now might struggle with sales. Yes, it will run ads, might get some sales, but compared to this person leveraging on your already existing brand. And there's also something called association bias. It's when you are associated to certain brands, it gives a different perception of you. Why do you think that you see something that, let's say, a celebrity you like, let's say, for instance, Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi, they're footballers, and you just see maybe a particular socks, football socks, or football boots that is collaborated or affiliated with them, you are more likely to buy that than buying any other thing else because you are associating them that you already like to that product.
Okay.
So,
okay, all right. So having said all those beautiful things, and you really made it clear, so how do you bring people, businesses that are in isolation, how do you encourage them to say, no, come out and go into partnership? What do you need to do to encourage them to come out?
would I be talking to the business owner here?
Yeah, business owners, potential business owners, and people who really want to go into partnership, and maybe they are just holding back for one reason or the other.
Okay, I would say they actually need to have like a consultation. They need to understand better, because if I was to drop a message now to business owners, what I would say is probably, this is more like advertisement for me, but reach out to me, have a conversation with me, and get to know more about your business, understanding your target audience and your potential customers. Because once you understand that, then you can identify, okay, these are the companies that are already existing that have those target audience I'm looking for.
Okay, so in 1 minute, what does the Avid agency do?
Okay, so from me, I'm going to use pidgin English to say
okay,
this.
no worries.
But Avid agency is a marketing agency that does everything that you can think of.
You're still speaking English.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay.
So Avid agency, if you dey sell, we dey buy. If you dey buy, we dey sell. We are active 100%. Anything you can think of digitally, we do it. If it's video editing, graphics design, social media management, ad management, branding, NFC cards, anything you can think of that is in the digital space or marketing space, we are active and we'll do that.
Oh, okay. So, yes, that's a beautiful one, Victor. Yeah, thank you for coming on the show today, and thank you for your patience. Let me appreciate that. Yeah, it's a virtue. Thank you so much. So we'll be having this conversation with Victor Ovenetiga Abija, and he's the CEO of Avid Agency, and you heard what he said. So, you know, and he has been talking about partnership. So, as a CEO, you should know that, yes, he has partnered with so many people, and he's still scaling up his own business. So why not to reach out if the need arises? And of course, you don't have to remain in your shell. You don't have to hold back because you're afraid that someone will come from outside to steal your business ideas. Go through the right channel, sign the necessary documents that needed to be signed, and ensure that the African economy, the African businesses grow stronger. Yeah, we'll go on this quick break, and when we return, we'll be moving straight to the second segment of Just Africa. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Africa is a rich continent, and when it comes to African countries with hidden riches, Burundi is generally overlooked. This little East African nation, located between Rwanda, Tanzania, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, has a strong, distinct identity. Drums in Burundi do more than just generate sounds, they also convey stories. The royal drummers of Burundi, Abatimbo, are more than just performers. They are historians, keepers of traditions, and spiritual messengers. These gigantic drums, built from hollowed-out tree trunks and coated in animal hide, are regarded with respect. In reality, for centuries, they were only utilized for sacred rites, royal events, and national holidays. Here's what makes this unique. Burundi drumming is unofficially protected by UNESCO as part of the world's intangible cultural heritage. That is, the sound of the Burundian drum is not just a national icon, but also a global treasure. And they are not your typical beat makers. The ritual is ordered and ceremonial. Drummers perform while dancing, holding the drums on their heads and producing rhythm with their bodies rather than with their hands. It's poetry in motion, tradition in tempo. However, Burundi's rhythms are not limited to drums. There is also a rhythm to their agriculture. Over 90% of Burundians depend on agriculture, primarily for substance. Burundians know how to cultivate life, from coffee, the country's main exports, to bananas, beans, and sweet potatoes, even on limited territory. Despite decades of political unrest and economic challenges, the Burundian spirit remains resilient. Kingship, oral storytelling, and shared traditions are essential components of community life. There is an unsaid value in their community, as evidenced by their Obushigante, a cultural council of wise elders who have traditionally helped settle conflicts and uphold moral standards. So, Burundi may be one of Africa's tiniest countries. It may not always make headlines. However, it embodies a continent's heartbeat through its drums, people, and ageless customs. One that teaches us that even the smallest countries may echo the loudest truth if we only stop and listen. I am Laura Iheke for SOUQ News. Until next time, let's keep sharing stories that bring this continent together.
Madagascar, the world's fourth largest island, stands as a geographical and ecological marvel of the southeastern coast of Africa. Isolated from the African mainland for over 80 million years, this island nation has evolved into a biological treasure trove found nowhere else on Earth. Over 90% of its wildlife is endemic, meaning it exists only in Madagascar, including the world-famous lemurs, baobab trees that look sculpted by myth, and an astonishing array of reptiles, insects, and plants. This extraordinary biodiversity has made Madagascar not only a focus of global scientific research, but also a symbol of nature's ability.
Yeah, welcome back to the second segment of Just Africa. Of course, you can follow us on all our social media platforms at SOUQ News TV. And of course, subscribe to the Just Africa show on our YouTube channel. So moving on to the second segment, I want to ask a very big question. I need you to come closer. Now, the question is this. If an investor asks you today this big question, are you a startup or you're just running a business? What would you say? is a question, right? Yes, so we have someone who will help us unpack or answer that question, because most times, most founders tell you, yes, it's a startup, it's a startup. This lack of clarity has deprived so many people from knowing whether they are actually a startup or they are running a business. So joining us today on the second segment is Godwin Idoko Amayi. I hope I pronounced that well, Esquire. He's a corporate legal compliance expert. And you know what? He explains why not every business should chase venture or adopt a startup-style governance when the fundamental tools do not support it. So, first of all, I need you to meet my guest. Idoko Godwin, are you there?
Pleasure meeting you, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for staying tuned, and welcome to the show once again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so first of all, let's understand something. When we hear business, we hear startups and we hear businesses, and these people have messed up many times. What is the difference between a startup and a business that is already doing well?
Okay. I think first of all, I think the idea of startup right now, especially in Africa, it just sounds like success. And to some, it actually sounds modern, right? It sounds fundable, and it sounds like you're really doing something big. That is why most businesses, regardless of whether they qualify as a startup or not, are very quick to label themselves as one. In terms of the differences, I would say that there's just one key difference, which is scalability. And by scalability, I mean how quickly can you scale as a business? Yeah, most often than not, you find startups scaling as quickly as they can. In fact, they are very quick to achieve growth. And while the regular businesses, you find them, they are relatively stable. It's difficult to find a business that is a regular business that is established and then goes out of extinction over time in just a short period of time. And so the key differential here is scalability and repeatability. As a startup, what you have, the product you've built, how quickly can you scale, and how quickly can you really repeat the process without actually, burning too much cash. Because as a business, for you to scale, you need to have, most often than not, the physical structure in place. I think for a bank, for instance, using a bank for an example, you have, as a bank, you need to set up a location for you to be able to and then if you're looking to expand, you need to set up another branch, and so on and so forth. But for a startup, you can scale so quickly, and you can just have a team of engineers in a room, right? And with some of the operations person, all in an apartment, and they are reaching thousands and millions of people, even with outside the shores of the country. So scalability is the main differential, I would say.
Okay, so scalability. Now, the fact that some persons don't understand the difference or what makes a startup different from a business or traditional business is one thing. Now, what kind of confusion do you think startup and traditional business, the confusion of the meaning of these two, what confusion do you think it has caused in the African ecosystem?
I think the confusion, first of all, mistake is very expensive here in Africa. It is important you get clarity as to whether your business qualifies as a startup or a traditional business. Because just like I mentioned, capital is very limited. Regulators are even getting more strict on some of these startups. And most often than not, founders don't always get a second chance, right? So, and you can't compare us to those in the Silicon where they get the luxury of fail fast, right? But you don't get a second chance here, and that is why it's important that you get that differential. So once you have that out of the way, I think the clarity is what matters. And once you have that out of the way, then you can then sit down and say, and then decide on what path to take, because these are separate models. And so if you don't know, if you're, as a startup, if you're adopting a model fit for a traditional business, you are bound to fail. And if and vice versa, right? And so that clarity is so very important, I would say.
Okay, so why do investors care whether you are a startup or whether you are a strong business already?
Yes, there are different kinds of investors, right? Yeah. And some are focused on investing in startups, while some are still very comfortable investing in traditional businesses, right? So if I am an investor, a venture capitalist who is focused on investing in startups, and you find a really good business, right? A traditional kind of business coming to me and saying, we want you to invest in. Does that really fit into the kind of business I'm open to invest in? And most investors, I would say, usually find investing in startups as a very juicy one, because it still takes us back to scalability. They know they can get 50x their investment or return on investment overnight. And that is something you typically cannot get with a traditional business. And that is why when they look at your cap table, they look at your business model, they look at the term sheet and all, they look at the business objects. It becomes so they're able to tell and give that different distinction, even if the founder, quote unquote, decides to, still play the game of claiming to be a startup rather than a traditional business.
Okay,
and so
a founder who do not understand whether he is a startup or he is already practicing traditional business, what does the person stand to miss at any point in time?
First, if your founder should be able to honestly assess scalability, right, before making any structural decisions. And to be able to assess that, they should be able to ask themselves simple questions, very simple questions, right? If you're not there, can the business continue to grow without you, right? And can your income actually grow in a way? Can it actually grow faster than your expenses, right? I mean, based on how much you're putting out there, can you typically 10x, 20x, or 50x your income in a short period of time? And then you want to ask this question: can this business model actually achieve unicorn status? Because that's very important. And by unicorn status, I mean achieving the threshold of $1 billion or above. And when you ask yourself these very simple questions, it becomes you are able to honestly tell, right, whether your business qualifies as a startup. So it's very important you lay those foundations from the start. Otherwise, when you're far into and then you've commenced operation already, it becomes, and then you start evaluating whether we're a startup or not, it becomes very disastrous at that point. And it's just important you have that clarity. Again, it goes back to the word clarity from the start. It's part of the foundation, I would say.
Yeah, you are a lawyer. So can you give us maybe a practical example or on how clarity, understanding, or let's say, I'm trying not to use the word money here, but can you give us some example on how founders have been saved from financial struggles due to being the clarity, not living in delusion of being a startup or a traditional business?
Okay, so I think one example that comes to mind is I would not mention names, but I once worked with a founder who is like in the waste innovation management service. They actually provide waste collection and recycling services, and they were actually looking to expand. And their question, actually, in fact, they were holding themselves out as founders and startups, right? But then after a little back and forth, it became clear that they were just a traditional business because to be able to, and they came out seeking for investment, right? And they were actually poaching investors, venture capitalists who are actually focused on investing in startups, right? And because there's one thing that comes along with investing with getting investment from VCs, there's a lot of pressure that comes along it, alongside it, and you can't afford, especially at the early stage. I know there are a lot of options which many founders do not know. There are a lot of alternatives to raising funds beyond just approaching a a VC or an angel investor. And so after the back and forth, it became clear that they were just a regular business, and they did not actually need or require that much business, that much funding to be able to scale. If they had gotten that much funding, they probably would have wasted it on, getting a fancy office space, or just inflating the salary paid to workers, or getting additional, which would be additional funding cost to the company. And so getting that outright from the start not getting it outrightly from the start was a big mistake from their end. However, they were able to follow through. And now the business is stable and profitable with no investor pressure. And that's something one should always consider.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a founder who does not like, pressure and all of that. Venture capitalists are just there to, they're giving you their money, so you need to turn up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at Africa, what model do you think that we need to adopt so as to help us build businesses, or also funders per se? Let me not just use the word we, so that funders will be able to operate at the level of sustainability. Like you said now, your investors feel that we've given you money, so it's just for you to go on, excel, and we have to get our return. So what are the models, global models, that African founders, African business owners need to adopt to ensure that we are doing the right thing to help our businesses scale?
So I think a mindset shift would be to build what your market actually needs, not necessarily what is trending, especially in the world of AI. You find a traditional business incorporating AI into their business, and then they feel they now qualify as a startup, right? So you need to, after getting that clarity, it's important you also build what your market actually needs, and not rely on hype or what actually looks good online. Because I believe that a business that's actually that lasts is actually better than a traditional business that lasts, right? It's actually better than a startup that collapses, which is why you shouldn't be chasing those money from the start. As a business, you should be more. As a startup, you should actually be more passionate about your vision, more than the amount of money you think you can actually generate from there. And so once you have that mindset, you're able to filter the noise, and then just treat it like a business. When a startup is a business, right? It's a business, which you have to treat it as such. And it's so unfortunate that they also do not have that. Most founders are not they are not business oriented, which is also a problem, right? And they also need to learn mindset shift. Understand that when investors give you money, they are giving you on the basis of in trust, and they believe that you will turn up in multiple folds. So the mindset, just build what people actually need, and not what you feel is now in vogue. AI is now in vogue. Okay, let's build an AI platform that, so just be real with yourself in terms of the impact you feel your product is going to be making in the society. And yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Now, can a small business outperform a fast-growing startup?
Small business.
Yeah.
Well, no. No. You've just qualified it as a small business, right? And a small business, in the eyes of the law, let me put it that way, is one that whose annual turnout or revenue does not go beyond 50 million or thereabouts.
Okay.
And so if that is the case, I think 50 to 100 million, if that is the case, a fast-growing business, a fast-growing startup turns annual revenue is typically between, I think, 500 million to 700 million. That's like a fast-growing, and until they achieve unicorn status. So that takes us to scalability. But then there are traditional businesses that still outperforms. Now we are not speaking of them being small now, but there are traditional businesses that still outperforms fast-growing startups, right? First Bank, for instance, all of these traditional banks are not startups, right?
Okay.
But they are doing well. They are listed on the stock exchange and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Dangote is not a startup, right?
Yeah.
But his business is a conglomerate, right? Well
Yes.
recognized.
Yes.
And there are many other companies. Mikano and the likes and so forth. And so the point here is, being a traditional business does not mean you cannot make billions of naira, right? It just means that there's this higher financial commitment required of you in terms of manpower, the number of staffs you're required to hire to be able to function or scale, and so on and so forth. So it is not a case of how much money can we really, whether a startup can make more money than a traditional business. It is now a case of, okay, I do not have so much money to spend on manpower, getting staff, putting different branches in place. How can I reach out to more customers, even from the comfort of one apartment? And that is where the edge comes in. But both models can actually make as much as they really want to, right?
Okay. All right. As a lawyer, I love the fact that you're a lawyer, so I can ask this question conveniently. So, what roles do lawyers have to play aside documentations, especially at the early stage of decision making? What roles can they play?
Beyond documentation, first of all, I think it's very important you position yourself as a partner, right? In legal innovation, a legal partner in innovation, and and that is what my brand actually represents. And what that means is, a startup is not just reaching out to you to okay, please, I need a document reviewed, and then you just do that, and then you're off. No, you need to be active in the business, and that comes to providing legal advisory. Because most of these founders do not really have it all figured out, and there's the general assumption that lawyers knows everything, right? I don't know how true that is, but we are quite vast in terms of how much we really know.
No one knows everything.
Right? And it's also important you, as a lawyer, understand business, not just understand law, understand how businesses think and operate. And that is why for every decision you're about to make as a partner to a business, you want to understand what the business outcome is, right? Why are we doing this micro task? What is the end goal? What are we looking to achieve? And so when you have the business outcome in mind, you are able to go out of the realm of, because there are times when, in all honesty, you just have to forget the law for a minute. I'm not saying breach the law. I'm saying forget the law for a minute and try to achieve that business outcome, which is why you just need to be more of a good advisor to the founder than just somebody who is there to draft documents and go. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your insight this beautiful afternoon, Godwin Idoko. Thank you so much for joining us on Just Africa.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I hope when we reach out to you next time, you'll be able to join us again.
So let me just say this, that in relation to this topic, um, clarity is power, right? So when funders understand what they're really building, they're able to make better decisions, and as a result, their business lasts longer. So every business owner should have that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that beautiful, should I call it signing out? Thank you so much. Okay, so today's episode of Just Africa has shown us that, yes, clarity is key. It's very important. Clarity is better than correction. When you understand something, you won't make mistakes. You will obviously avoid so many mistakes. So for a startup, for traditional businesses, for whatever it is, get clarity. Ensure that whatever you're doing, you understand it. You talk to people, talk to lawyers, if need be, talk to other persons who are also in the line of business, so you have a better understanding of what you are doing. And that's how we've come to the end of today's episode of Just Africa. You can follow us on all our social media platforms at SOUQ News TV and subscribe to the Just Africa YouTube channel. I am Omevi Idolo. Thanks for watching.
Okay, as you know, my name is Babatunde Jala Epega. I shortened it. That was part of my journey to Baba Jala Epega. I was born here in Lagos, just a stone throw away from here, in actually Lagos Hospital here. And I was expelled from school. I went to Corona Ikoyi at the age of 6. My teacher, who I found to be quite unjust at the time, made us all stand, and I remember this, even though it's like almost 45 years ago. But I remember standing outside Corona School in the heat with all the students in my class because one boy had done something and no one owned up. So I found that quite unjust that all of us had to suffer. So I picked up a stone and I threw that stone at my headmistress's glass and it broke her window. She told my parents, and my parents weren't very happy, of course, but they realized that I wasn't meant to be in school like that here. So the teacher actually asked me to leave, and my parents took me to England. They said, take this child to England. We can't control this child here. He's a wild fellow. So as soon as I got to England, I went to Tunbridge Wells in Kent. I went to school there, and it was the most cold experience I've ever had in my life. I was 6.5 going to 7, and I went to boarding school at that age. And I think that woke me up in life straight away, that even in comfort, you still have steel. And by that, I mean that everyone would think, oh, you are lucky, you went to England at 6, 7. But I was very young. I was put in a dormitory with children from England, from Japan, from Saudi Arabia. We were all very young. There was a lot of crying in the dormitory, 12 boys, 6 on each side. And the room was very cold. I remember the cold. But one other thing I got to learn was rugby. And through my life, rugby and learning to deal with my condition and environment has instilled a strength in me. And as we know in Nigeria, you have a lot of things that happen that are out of your control, but you have to find a way to evolve and adapt. And I think from the age of 6, 7, I was very lucky to have that. I went to the oldest school in the world called King's Canterbury, started by St. Augustine in 598 AD. This was the secondary school I went to. And my life seemed pretty, what they say, gold-leafed at the time. Everyone's like, you enjoy, you're in Nigeria, you're in London. I learned to speak Spanish. Unfortunately, I lost my Yoruba, but I'm trying to get that back. I learned to speak Spanish and French. But at the age of 17, my father had a stroke. And He was working too hard, obviously. And sadly, my mom and dad had split up by that time. So my whole life that seemed so rosy stopped because my father's business partners, all of them somehow took the business and it went away. And from that going away, we were left destitute. My dad was in a coma for 3 months, and my mother, who wasn't working, because my sisters and I have 2 lovely older sisters, Yewande and Gigi, we were still in school. So much so that my last year's school fees were not paid. But one of my uncles kindly paid for my school fees, and my mother had to go to work. She started her own business. She too was a journalist, Mrs. Ibiene Epega, but she started a chauffeur driving company and started using cars to drive people with her staff. So from that age where I thought a university was going to be given, I was left floating in the abyss because we didn't have financials. So for 1 year I had to work in a post office in London, and it was quite an eye-opener for me, but it didn't stop me from adapting. And again, adaptation helped me grow. So from being in a very wealthy family as a young man, coming to the age of 17 to become an adolescent, grown up, I realized that nothing is given. My father sadly was in a stroke, and when he had that stroke, he became semi-paralyzed. For another 30 years, he was semi-paralyzed. But my mother died quite soon after that time in a car crash on the road to Warri, because my Okrika side and Warri side is where my mom was from, even though my father was Ijebu. So my mother died at the age of when I was 21, which was 20 actually, when I was starting university. And my father was semi-paralyzed. So I became the father of the family, even though my sisters were older and far more intelligent than me. But being the man, I had to take control of a lot of things. And I think that's what really gave me the tenacity to understand that I really need to be someone who doesn't just walk in one field. I need to spread my risk. From my university, I did mathematical economics and Spanish. I was able to go to University, Queen Mary College, London University. And from there I finished. As I said, I worked again. So I worked before I went to uni, and then I worked afterwards. And for me, life is about collaboration, communication, and tenacity. And I think those were my first 21 years. There were less people in Lagos in those days. I won't lie. I grew up every summer and even Christmas where we could afford it. Back in my day, 1978-79, Naira was 0.8 to £1. So you can understand that people were very wealthy. I think in those days there was like 40 million people. It wasn't that much of it because my dad was an estate surveyor. So we used to go to Abuja a lot. And he was one of the surveyors that gridded Abuja when it was being built during the late 70s, 80s with Obasanjo, and even before Murtala Mohammed. They were gridding it. And Lagos, or should I say Abuja, was made the capital. And Abuja is a model city of Milton Keynes, which is a model city of Paris. Just like Brasilia in Brazil was changed from Rio de Janeiro as a capital. So for me, coming back to Lagos was a joy. I enjoyed it because I was young. We used to just walk, run the streets on our bicycles and cycling, just exploring. Everything was open. There weren't as many cars. It was no big apartments, and there weren't as many people. So I had a beautiful time. There were a lot of lizards on the ground, and we used to throw stones at them. But that was my own youth. We used to go to the beach a lot. Bar Beach was around. It's not around now. Sadly, my dad used to take me to Bar Beach to see the capital punishment killings of armed robbers, and even Dimka, who was one of the leaders of the coup d'etat against Murtala Mohammed. We saw him shot there. Saturdays was a big day, and NTA used to have a channel. I think they still have their studio there. So one of our aunties, Ms. Julie Coker, was there. So we saw a different side of Nigeria. We would go to Ibadan. We'll go to Ijebu, we'll go to Benin, we'll go to Port Harcourt by road. In those days, you could travel, and along the way, we go to Akure, you pick up mangoes, you pick up coconuts, my dad will pick up palm wine, all these things on the road that I don't know if you get it now because security is an issue. So for me, it was a romantic time. I think fashion, evolving through Nigeria, has started as a siloed industry. By that I mean every individual was doing their own thing, whether they were a seamstress, a tailor, a designer, a stitcher, they were doing their own thing. But we are realizing that with the 200 plus million people we have in Nigeria, you can't be an individual alone doing your own thing. So the evolution of fashion that I've seen in my own small way, as someone who's worked in the industry, is that there's more collaboration. The designers are looking for hire specialist artisans to help with their stitching, the styling, and the putting together of clothes and accessories. So I'm also seeing small grassroots shoots, very small at the moment, of the government playing a part in bringing together some kind of foundation so people can articulate their fashion designs to the world, because we have seen it in a lot of music. Obviously, Afrobeat is one of our biggest exports in this country. Obviously, there's oil and all the others, but I'm talking about within this entertainment, luxury, lifestyle industries. So we're trying to learn from that how private sector can play a part to enhance these fashion sector. So now we're seeing a lot of vibrant colors, a lot of styles. Men's fashion is big. It's not just women's fashion. Men's grooming is massive, hair and beauty as well. So men are taking care of ourselves more and more. And accessories, I think, is fundamentally the quick fix of fashion, where we can enhance and create jobs and hyper growth in GDP by focusing on this. And this is where I implore the government with, working in mineral resources, our precious metals, semi-precious metals, help those industries to grow. There's a great lady, Janet Adeyemi, who works in Women in Business, and she is working within that. Let's help our fairer sex or the female gender to grow in business as well, because there's a fundamental knowledge that if half your population are women, as ours is roughly, or maybe 51%, 52%, you have to educate the women so they too can add to GDP. It's a simple economist theory. You can't leave them out of it because it's very important. And these industries in fashion are enhanced by women, and we need to push that forward. I think the banking system needs to be augmented, and I'm saying this from the government's perspective. The ease of doing business in Nigeria, as an investor myself, a foreign investor as well as being an indigent in Nigeria, the problem is not getting your money to Nigeria, it's getting your money out of Nigeria. Not that you want to suck all the money out of the country, but what can help is the floating exchange rates, the flow and liquidity of money that can come in and out of the country. A lot of investors are worried about how they get their money out of Nigeria. So I think our banking system, going back to the central bank, which they're working on, needs to be much more fluid. So people feel they can invest and take money out. But also, we need to articulate what is on offer. We need to start some kind of documentation of who is available to have investment with, where they can be found, because it's because we are quite an opaque economy, meaning that people can't see the end of where they're putting their money. Once we do that basis and open up the lights within which kind of businesses are available to be invested in, I think a lot of investors, domestic and international, will be more willing to put money to it. I think Content creation for me has been an evolution. I started as an ex-banker, as I said. I used to trade futures and options in Barclays Bank. I was on the Life Exchange, trading bonds, and I found that wasn't my life. I wanted to be more closer to people. Some people can be bankers on the trading desk or trading floor, but not for me. So I started doing events. I was very lucky enough to show that I was quite adept at doing events. So a big company called Richemont, they owned Cartier, Dunhill, Hackett. They were part of British American Tobacco. They took me on to do their events. So I was doing a lot of polo matches, a lot of Christmas parties, a lot of brand activation events in England. So for me, I got a lot of content knowledge from that. Different styles, people, different countries. But in the last 10 years, I felt that helping companies like LinkedIn, Google, all kinds of big banks in Europe and America was not my remit. My business, EMC3, was going very strongly in America. But as a Niger man, I didn't feel love in America. I know that everyone says it's the land of opportunity, but being someone of my own African descent, I didn't like the mentality there. People are good, but the infrastructure is racist institutionally, as we know. So I felt I wanted to give something back to Nigeria. And with all the 20 years of, at that time, about 17 years of knowledge I'd gained from doing some of the best Grand Prix parties in the world, Formula One, around Monza, Silverstone, Abu Dhabi, I was doing a lot of events. I thought, let me take this back to Nigeria. I didn't have to come back to Nigeria. I wanted to. And I know with all our grievances with Nigeria, if you ask many Africans about Nigeria, they'll say, they look up to us. You guys, you have Chinua Achebe, you have Wole Soyinka, you have Fela Kuti. What's your problem? You have Chimamanda Adichie. What's your problem? So we have to take ownership and say, yeah, we do have all these people. We have Afrobeats, whether it's Burna Boy, Davido, the Venus Bushfires, all these different people that are exported. Let us look inside and say, wow, we do have a lot. So I wanted, as a content creator, to show Nigeria in all the different sectors that we do have a lot. And that's why with the marketing and communications company that I've started, my own company, I felt I could touch so many sectors. And finance, as I mentioned, I work with banks. Also government, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, a very great entity. I work in fashion, with brand labels and people across the board. There are great shops like Alara here that also promote African fashion and African business. And did you know even Leventis does a lot of research, Nigerian bottling company, to help this country. And do you know Nigeria was blowing glass 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years before Europe knew glass blowing. And it's been found in Oyo State only recently. So it's very important that architecturally, we take ownership of our country. The NOC civilization that has been in the mid to, I think it's above Abuja, near Benue, and even Niger River, above those basins, that has a lot of artifacts and a lot of archaeological excavation potential. But we've allowed that just to linger. People have stolen a lot of our artifacts. Nigeria was known for Benin bronzes. We were the best smelters of iron before people were smelting iron. So these are things we have to take stock of. And me as a content creator, I bring all that information together and I make sure that people acknowledge it and are aware of it. So then that will uplift us all. Now, this is a political question, but I believe with our background of the last 20, 30 years, we've had, sadly, leaders who have been militarily inclined, let's just call it that. And as we know, military people, they don't like educated people because educated people will ask questions. So we have had what we call a dismemberment of education in Nigeria for the last 35 years. And that has played an endemic part in retarding the gross domestic productivity of our country because our youths and even people up to my age and older, have not had the infrastructure, middle-class education that is needed for a country to grow. You look at the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century in Europe, especially in Britain, and you look how they were expanded by merchants and artisans and specific skilled workers. Apprenticeships were big, education was huge. There was what they call a noblesse obligée, a nobility obligation that people who are rich give back to institutions, not to church, to institutions that will help education. And that is where I think we've had a disconnect. Education was lacking. So for me, the way that we can help, it takes time. This new government is in. They are trying to implement the 8-point agenda, which is a good agenda. But everyone's looking for results now. Nigeria has been in a very bad state. There's global downturn. Obviously, cost of living is so high as it has been for a while. Nigeria is exacerbated, but in Europe, cost of living is high. There are some stupid wars going on around the world that has meant oil prices have skyrocketed. And you know, with the rocketing of oil, everything goes up price-wise. So Nigeria needs to reevaluate education and apprenticeship. I believe even in fashion industry especially, apprenticeship is very important. Whether it's weaving, designing, marketing, online, whatever it is, factories, you need apprenticeship. And that's the quick fix of education. But education is fundamental to everything. Education of men and women, or girls and boys, both. Let's be honest, we need both sides of our genders to work together. You know, Yoruba, we've always been what we call a dual binary kind of culture. We've always thought of male and female as one, and it's very important. Even in our names, Taiwo and Kehinde, you won't know if it's male or female. So we have to really educate ourselves that we can work together. And I think our women are our future. I can't even emphasize that more. And education is key. But it takes time. I think Japa syndrome is very real. Everyone wants a better life. Let's not lie. You want a better life for yourselves, but for your family, your parents, your children. And the opportunities in Nigeria, even when you have been educated and you finish graduate here, to find jobs is not easy. The infrastructure is very bad for job creation. And this is being worked on, we know. And the last 8 years has been fundamentally broken. But we know this new government is changing that. But specifically, Japa in Canada, they need our brains. You go across the world and you ask any nation, especially America, who are the best educated, the best, integrated, and the most proficient people, Nigerians. So it's not that we are stupid, it's that we don't have the infrastructure at home. And America, Canada, Europe, they're giving us the infrastructure. So getting out of Nigeria is not easy. There are opportunities and policies that allow it, but going across the border to Libya is not the way. You spend $5,000, $4,000, which is almost 4 or 5 million naira to try and get to Europe, and then you're treated like a dog when you get there. That's not the way. But, you know, there are certain policies that can take you to these countries. And in Britain, for instance, it's not all, the streets aren't paved in gold, but if you earn £1 in Britain, you send that home, that £1 is 1,300 naira. So, and the minimum wage is £14 an hour now in Britain. So you can do the maths of that. So someone who is earning £14 an hour, if they work 10 hours in a day, they've earned over £100, which is 100,000 naira. So the maths, of course, is what makes people want to go there, because even if you are working there, obviously you're paying British rates, so your rent, your cost of utilities, your food and drink, your transport comes into play. It's not cheap there. But the money you send, even if you're only sending £100 a month back to your mom, that's 100,000 naira. So, or 130,000 naira in today's rate. So you can do the maths. That's why people are going. And the security in these countries is, and the education, to be quite frank, is better. But it doesn't mean they are better. We have to build a house, you must thatch the roof from within, so your roof doesn't cave in. And I think that's very important. Not that people shouldn't go home. I mean, go out of the country, but they should always come home as they can. Because we need, you see the Pakistanis doing it, you see the Indians doing it, you see the Arabs, they go home and they build their own countries. It's not good to just japa and leave. You have to come home small. I think my success is down to, as much as I can say a success, because it's still a book that is not finished and the stories are still unwritten, is a tenacity of hard work. It's very important that people understand that it takes a lifetime to look like an overnight success. It doesn't just come. What I'm still doing, I'm not the most successful in my business, but I love my business. And if you can find something that you love and you can make money out of, then you're in heaven on earth, to be quite frank. I think my spirituality and my faith is very important, as is my wife's. My wife, Helen Epega, she wrote the world's first Pidgin English opera. And we've been staging it here in London. We played in Cape Town, in Nairobi, and in Lagos, And we've staged it in London. We're at the Royal Albert Hall next year. I'm executive producer of that. So I think my success, to add to that, is that I put all my eggs in one basket. And I work very hard to make sure I research and obtain knowledge of the next thing, or what was the last thing. I'm a historian as well. And I put things in perspective. And I try to add value as I can. But as my momsy used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I like to listen as well. And from children you can learn, from grandpapa you can learn. So humility is very important. I'm not arrogant with it. And I think that's the most important part. Collaboration, humility, and shared drive. But also knowing that for me, Saturday and Sunday, I'm off. That's my time for the family. I take a break. Sunday, even God rested on the 7th day. Me too, I rest. I'm not 24/7, even though this weekend we have a big fashion event, but that's work. But when I take my tools down, it's tools down. No one can call me on Sunday morning. So you can't be BOing to people. Never let anyone own you like that. That's what I say. Someone calling you on Sunday morning, obviously in journalism, in film, it's a different from projects. I'm not saying every time, but just be aware of yourself and your mental health. That's the most important. Sure. The world's first Pidgin English opera is a show about a Nigerian fabled people. It's almost like Orisha, but it's not. There are people who are Mami Waters, as well as they are spiritual people. They are the guardians of the galaxy, to use an expression. There is God, the all-faithful God, and the all-knowing God, omniscient, omnipotent. But below that, there are all these almost demigods that look after, let's say, this sector of the universe. And these people are singers. They sing opera. But they sing it with Pidgin English. And you know, Pidgin is a language that is known by most Nigerians, but it's a language that people shun and say, it's a bad language. But they speak Pidgin in Hawaii. They speak Pidgin in China. They speak Pidgin, Old English Cockney is Pidgin. American even is a form of Pidgin because they Yankified English. So what my wife has done, Helen Epega, she's also known as the Venus Bushfires. She's an Afrofuturist musician. She composes songs. So she put together this compilation, which is a Pidgin English opera musical. And it's a show that lasts for about 45 minutes or an hour and a half. It depends if you're doing the short version or long version. So we have tenors, we have sopranos, we have violinists, we have kura player, and my wife plays something called the hang, which is like 2 tortoise shell steel drums that sound like a harp. And she plays that, and she sings. She's the main protagonist in this. And it's a drama about all these people that have come, the many people who are meant to look after the planet, but they lose their voice. So Earth is because God is angry with them, the Earth, and says these people are rubbish. But the many people say to God, please give them one more chance. They're not that bad. I know they're fighting, there's lots of wars, but give them another chance. So the lead Kanate of these many people has to go to the Venus bushfire, which is the heavenly celestial place, to bring the voice back, to sing Earth back into harmony. So it's a drama, and it kind of plays on our old cultural awareness in Africa and heritage of Nigeria of there are other beings. You must have faith in your ancestors as well as in a God. And the deities, as we know in Yoruba, I think there are 7 deities, and these are very important cultural awareness that we try to give to children as well. I think in the filmmaking in Nigeria is burgeoning. AFRIF, the African Film Festival, International Film Festival, is on now, which is a great show. I helped incept in 2010, many years ago. We had it in Port Harcourt. It was Governor Rotimi Amici that started that campaign, but it's going on very strongly now. Nollywood, as we call it, is being noticed by the international market, whether it's Netflix or Hollywood. I would like to tell you something, actually, which is, I haven't divulged this for many years. My great uncle, whose name is Orlando Martins, God rest his soul, was one of the first African actors in Hollywood. He acted in the 30s with people like Ronald Reagan, Katharine Hepburn, and Bob Hope. And he always played a part as an African prince or chief. He was never like denigrated or made into a lower African slave or anything. And I think that instilled something in my mind with this film industry. I think it's very important that Nigeria, as it is, we have some great actors like Wale Ojo and Ramsey Noah. They are playing part in producing their own shows. And it's very important. Like in America, you obviously have people like Mel Gibson, Robert De Niro, who have produced their own films as well. That Nigerians are not just actors or technicians, they are also producers and directors. It's very important that we have that link within our industry. And we make friends and we forge relationships, not just with Hollywood. There's Bollywood, the Indian industry, and there's also China, because China's film industry is massive. Technically, I think just as big as Hollywood. So we must look to ourselves in Africa as well. There's some great film makers from Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ghana, and I think collaboration I always use collaboration because I would not be here without collaboration. Obviously, my wife, you collaborate with your spouse, but also my businesses. I have a very good English business partner. He's really a business partner. I've started a new business. I collaborate with all kinds of industries and different sectors. So for film industry, I think it's important that we push our heritage forward because people want to know about Nigeria. In Africa, they love Nollywood stories, and that's a fact. And we can expand by using distribution. Distribution is key. Netflix, all the Hollywood film houses, negotiate with them. Even if you don't get the best price for this show, make sure you check your contract, make sure you get it for your next film. So I think that's important, distribution. While I'm still alive, that's a very good question. Hope springs eternal with me, and I am optimistic about Nigeria. I think Nigeria is not what we all will think it will be. It's it's a country that needs to be more fluid. We have in diaspora a lot of powerful individuals and groups. I think we need to connect even more with those individuals and groups who need to invest in Nigeria. Our youth is very talented and is very able, but it's also very abundant. So we need to find a way to link up education, apprenticeship to these youth to give them something that is productive to work in. And that means expanding your mind as parents. It's not just doctors, lawyers, bankers that we need. We need artisans, we need creatives, and that's the most important point. It's a mind block. So for me, if we can work on Nigeria's mind psyche and the taboos of oh, we don't want our child to marry musician. You know, even as a musician, you don't just have to be a rapper. You could be a music engineer, you could be a filmmaker, you could be an engineer that works with the technical aspects of editing, you could be a designer. There's so many aspects. So I say to my utopian Nigeria, learn from your brothers and sisters. International research online is very important. And for me, the dream is to see Nigeria as a fluid country of strength in Africa, where we're trading with African countries and we're using what we have as our asset. Technically, of course, we need Europe and America and everything, but we have it in Africa. We have it in Nigeria. So my beauty of Nigeria would be if we become our own Wakanda, working with other African states and enhancing our own GDP as well as our region and our continent's GDP working together. Gosh, my favorite, what's the first one? Food. As you can see, I like my food. I like a mixture actually. I like amala. I like yams. I swallow very well. Whether it's with ogbono soup, that's very good. But also, from my mother's riverside, there's one okra, seafood okra that my mom used to make. And I still strive to find that. I go and find that whenever I go away. In London, you have some nice Nigerian restaurants, and in Lagos, of course, as across Nigeria. But nothing like home cooking. When my wife makes me a nice, I suppose she makes a goosey for me, eba, and that's my staple. My best music, I love Afrobeats, of course, but predominantly, I'm a Fela man. Ebenezer Obey. I like the old styles. And I also like Zaire music. There's high life that comes across Africa. But to be light to say I don't like Jimi Hendrix. I like Jimi Hendrix. He's a guitarist, a Native American, African-American guitarist. I love his kind of music. So those are my mainstays. And Gorillaz and De La Soul are still very great music of mine. Those are my Spotify at the moment. What was the other question? I like wrestling. They used to call it Gidigbo back in the day, Yoruba wrestling. I used to love that. I haven't seen that much lately, but I like Nigerian wrestling. Obviously, we play good football. We're great footballers as well, globally. But you said Nigerian sports. Polo. Nigeria, I like Nigerian polo as well. To my young brethren and children of Nigeria, I say it's important hard work. Hard work, research, and belief in yourself. Obviously, times are very tough at the moment, and money is tight. But with your own creativity, you can build your empire from there. I always believe that from one's mind, you can make worlds, and you shouldn't give up. Obviously, if you're not very great at one thing, you find what you are great at. But always be honest with yourself and treat others how you want to be treated. And remember, collaboration is the key or the little sister of success. And always have a smile. Very important. That's what I say.
I was born on the 16th day of October, 63 years ago. I'm from Opobo, yeah, and went to school. I'm from Rivers State, from Opobo in Rivers State. Went to school in Port Harcourt, lived in Port Harcourt all my life, from primary to secondary school to A-levels. Then after A-levels, I got admission to Unilag. Immediately after Unilag, I got married. And I've lived in Lagos ever since. Well, it was fun for us because me and my husband were very young. My husband was 25, I was 21 and all that. But we learned on the job. We were friends. We were friends for 3 years when I was in university. And we came out, we got married. So we're like children that just got married. But I had my parents. My parents were his very good friends. So when I get naughty, he would report me to my parents. When I didn't know these kind of duties were demands of somebody's wife, they would tell me this is my responsibility. I'm like, no. I will agree to some, I will not agree to some. But I mean, it was fun. We had our ups and downs, but we kind of pushed through it. And then the children started coming, and it was a different ballgame. You know, when you come from that kind of family, it's like part of your system. You don't really regard it as anything anymore. But sometimes I get the shock of my life because there was a time my in-laws came to Opobo for one ceremony, and I saw the king. And he gave me a hug and he gave me a pic, and they were like, whoa, the Upper Benin won't even shake your hand, you know, as a woman. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's the same family, you understand? So we're used to that. I think we take it for granted. But maybe some other people say, you must call me a princess, you must call me that. I'm not into all those kind of things. I'm not at all. I've never been. So I can't start tomorrow. But yeah, great King Jaja of Opobo, my great-great-grandfather. And my children, when they studied it in school, they went to Corona school. So they came, Mom, we're telling our teacher and our classmates that this King Jaja of Opobo, they told them about King Jaja of Opobo in school. And they said, that's my mommy's great-grandfather. Like, whoa, no, it was like a big deal to them, for us. Absolutely, upbringing and my personal choice too, because you could be brought up one way and choose to go another way. You understand? One of my philosophies in life is like this: you're not the tallest in the world, you're not the shortest, you're not the prettiest, you're not the ugliest, you're not the richest, you're not the poorest. Oh, of course, get with it. Do you understand? If you're looking for beauty, there are more beautiful women than you say. If you're looking for ugly, there are uglier women. If you're looking for tall, you're looking for it. So what is it? Do you understand? You didn't come into this world with anything. You're not going to go with anything. So just be grateful to God for whatever you have or whatever you are. Work towards improving on it, improving your relationship with God Almighty and improving your relationship with your fellow human beings. That's my philosophy in life. So what's the point of carrying all the air and chips on your shoulder? It makes life heavier for you. Seven is my favorite number. It's a number for perfection, and I was born on the 16th of October. My star sign is Libra. We're always looking for perfect balance in everything. It's just an influence from the horoscopes, I'm told. But J is my husband's name, D is my name, and 7 is my favorite number. Lazy way of forming the name of a company, isn't it? So I did, and it stuck. And I knew I was going to go into couture, so that was it. Easy. I was a victim of circumstances. I keep saying it. I didn't really come into business to be a fashion designer, to go into fashion, and creativity has always been something that's innate. Okay, even before I started making clothes or doing this, I used to always give designers the styles that I want them to make for me. I didn't have tailors, but when I finished my NYSC at Nigerian Television Authority in Victoria Island, I decided I wasn't going to work there. I wanted to work in a more organized setup. You understand? Because of management traineeship, because I never worked all my life. You know, my parents were very protective. I'm the last girl in the family. They were always very protective. You know. So I said I wanted to work somewhere, and I prayed about it. And I got into Unilever. Then it was called Labor Brothers. And for 5 years, but you know, the intensity of work there became a bit much for me because I was a young mother. I had 2 kids then. Was going on having the 3rd one. So it became a bit time. Sometimes Unilever was one of the biggest. When the international directors come in, we used to be the ones to host them with all the Unilever affiliates. Linters, the advertising agency used to be all the Nigerian breweries, USC, you understand, AJC, we're all the Unilever group. Sometimes I won't get home until 3 a.m. when we're hosting, and with kids in the house, it can be a bit much. So I'm like, I prayed about it and I decided something has to give. It's either your family, your children you will not give them the attention they need then, and they were growing fast, or your job will suffer, and then you will not be happy whichever way. So I decided, you know what, let my priority be my family. And I decided to go back, and I put in my resignation. That was natural. In fact, when I did, my chairman refused to accept the resignation, so I had to use another way to encourage him to accept it. So I left Unilever. I said, okay, I wasn't the type of person that was suited for being a housewife. I wanted to do the kind of business I would do, but still have 100% time for the kids. So when the kids said, they're having something in school, I'm there, okay? I decided I was going to just market corporate gifts. When I was in Unilever, I was the assistant corporate affairs manager in charge of press. So, and being in Unilever at the corporate affairs level, I already knew a lot of companies. So I used that opportunity to get back to those companies and introduce my new business. And in the first year, I actually made more money than my 5-year stint in Unilever. So that was enough encouragement. You make more money doing your own business. You have more time for your kids, for your family, and for yourself. And you travel quite a bit because you have to go and buy the corporate gifts. So it was a win-win. Then, a few years down the line, the president, Olusegun Obasanjo, came in and said they were doing backward integration and they were going to stop the importation of all this corporate gifts and a lot of other things. So we were actually forced to look inwards. And when we started looking inwards, that's when it hit me that apart from Big, that was being produced by Eleganza, we're not really manufacturing anything in Nigeria apart from textiles and maybe I think Eleganza was doing food flask or something. Which corporate body do you want to give as end of year gift? So what we had to do now, because a lot of my clientele were like Shell, Chevron, I started looking inwards. I said, okay, if I have to do something, I can do beddings, pillowcase trimmings, table covers, table placemat, napkins with fabrics like Ashok and Adira. I can do jute bags, you know. It came to me. So I had to go and buy one machine and employ one tailor. So sometimes they will call me. I did some samples. So when, even in Abuja, when they were going to have, like I remember the West African Women's Affairs, they had a conference. So they wanted jute bags, and we had about 1,000 or 2,000 jute bags, and that was quite nice. Plus, apart from the end of year activities, so that's it. But you know, after those periods, you have periods of lull, like you're not using the machine and the tailor. You have to be paying tailor for doing it. I'm like, why am I going to these people to make my clothes? Tailor, oh yeah. This is the style I want. I started first by giving some of my clothes, repeat it. You did well. So I started designing. I could sketch very well. I was a science student in school, but I could sketch really well. So I was sketching, would do well. And sometimes when I wear the clothes and I go to supermarket, some women will just call me, hey.
A very good afternoon to you and welcome to SOUQ World News. We're reaching you live from our studios at SOUQ News TV. I'm Oyin Priya Krumale. Let's begin with today's top stories. The National Assembly releases certified true copies of 4 key tax reform acts to clear alleged discrepancies in the gazetted version. Nigeria's 58.18 trillion naira 2026 budget struggles as Donald Trump intervention in Venezuela threatens to boost global crude supply. And the government of South Africa announces petrol price cut by up to 66% per litre as part of monthly fuel pricing review. And Canada overtakes United Kingdom as preferred destination for international students seeking permanent residency amid tighter immigration policies. And in the world of sports, Nigeria will continue their quest for a 4th Africa Cup of Nations title when they face Mozambique today. Welcome back and many thanks for joining us on the news. Now, Nigeria's National Assembly has released certified true copies of 4 key tax reform acts to clear confusion over discrepancies in the gazetted version. The move follows complaints about unauthorized texts and alleged post-passages changes. The CTCs cover the Nigerian Tax Act 2025, Nigeria Tax Administration Act 2025, the National Revenue Service Establishment Act 2025, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Act 2025. The publication confirms the exact versions approved by Parliament and signed by President Bola Tinubu. The House spokesman, Akin Rotimi, said the Speaker and Senate President Godswill Akpabio ordered the release to provide authoritative records. Lawmakers said the step restores public confidence and ensures smooth implementation of the tax reforms starting January 2026 for businesses and taxpayers nationwide. And now we move on to our next story, and it has to do with flood, as the National Emergency Management Agency has called on flood-affected communities to embrace improved environmental practices and disaster risk reduction, framing it as a new national response approach. The appeal comes as the agency continues relief efforts in flood-prone areas. NEMA Director General Zubaida Umar issued the guidance while distributing relief materials to victims in Ogoja and Iyala local government areas of Cross River State. Represented by Victor Akpankma, Head of Relief and Rehabilitation Uyo Operations Office, Umar emphasized that prevention and preparedness must underpin community actions against recurring climate-related disasters. Umar said that responsible waste disposal, drainage maintenance, and early warnings will reduce losses and save lives when floods strike our communities. The agency urged local residents to adopt sustainable environmental practices to limit the impact of future floods and strengthen the community resilience. Now, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited is under mounting financial strain as debt owed by its subsidiaries claimed 30.30 trillion naira by the end of 2024, according to its audited accounts. Intercompany receivables surged by 70.4% year-on-year, rising by 12.52 trillion naira from 17.78 trillion naira in 2023 to 30.30 trillion naira as of December 31st, 2024, highlighting deepening balance sheet pressure within the group. The spike reflects mounting obligations across the NNPC's refineries, trading units, and gas infrastructure, and the companies, many of which continue to rely on the parent for funding. The account shows that the group operates 32 subsidiaries, yet only 8 were not indebted during the period, with most entities recording higher outstanding balances. This trend underscores persistent financial weakness despite reforms to reposition NNPC as a profit-driven enterprise, raising concerns among analysts about cash flow, discipline, accountability, and the pace at which the national oil company can achieve profitability, according to reports. Now, Nigeria's 58.18 trillion naira 2026 budget, based on a $64.85 per barrel oil benchmark, faces increasing strain as President Donald Trump's intervention in Venezuela threatens to boost global crude supply. The budget relies heavily on stable oil revenues to fund development projects and fiscal commitments. Earlier, President Trump announced that United States oil companies would invest billions of dollars to rebuild Venezuela's energy infrastructure following the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. Analysts warn that this could exacerbate an already oversupplied global oil market, potentially driving prices below Nigeria's budget assumptions. The pause in OPEC Plus output increases odds further uncertainty, leaving the Nigerian government to balance fiscal planning with volatile international oil markets. Observers suggest that situation may prompt a review of revenue forecast and contingency measures to sustain budgetary priorities. Now, International Energy Insurance PLC has received shareholders' approval to raise up to 17.5 billion naira in fresh capital and convert a 2 billion naira shareholder deposit into equity, marking a significant step in strengthening the company's financial base. The endorsement came during an extraordinary general meeting held virtually on December 31st, 2025, where shareholders approved all resolutions presented by the board. The move demonstrates investor confidence in IEI's strategic growth plans. The approved capital raise paves the way for a multi-layered approach, potentially involving a private placement, rights issue, public offer, or the entry of a strategic investor, all subject to regulatory approval. Analysts said the move could enhance IEI's underwriting capacity and market competitiveness in the insurance sector. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has confirmed it supplied 43.3 million liters of premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol, to the Nigerian market on Saturday, dismissing rumors that the facility had shut down its petrol processing unit for maintenance. Refinery officials, who requested anonymity, told the pressmen that the facility remained fully operational and had not suspended production. They said claims of a shutdown were baseless and likely fueled by speculation within the downstream market. They added that some marketers were merely using the rumor as an excuse to hike petrol gantry price, which had recently dropped from 828 naira to 699 naira per liter following Dangote's intervention in the domestic supply chain. Now, Kano State Governor assented to the 2026 budget, making it the first in northern Nigeria to exceed 1 trillion naira. The approval marks a major step toward boosting development and promoting inclusive growth across the state. The signing took place during a meeting of the Kano State Executive Council at the Government House in Kano. The budget outlines allocations for key sectors, including infrastructure and social programs aimed at improving welfare and accelerating economic programs. Before the governor's approval, Speaker of the Kano State House of Assembly, Alhaji Ismail Falgore, highlighted the historic nature of the budget, noting that its unprecedented size and significance for the region. Lawmakers and officials also expressed optimism that the plan will drive development initiatives across the state. Now, still to come in the news, Botswana invites Russian investors to collaborate on rare earth and diamonds trade. We'll bring you that story and more after this break. Do stay with us.
Good enough. Africa. If there's one man who has consistently been a household name and index of reference in the business arena, the name Aliko Dangote apparently stands tall. The Africa's richest man clearly benchmarks success, wealth, and prosperity. His unofficial love and passion for business are quite phenomenal. These can be traced to his background. Born in April 10, 1957 to Maria Sanusi Dangote and Mohammed Dangote, his maternal ancestors were prosperous caravan traders under British colonial rule, and his grandfather, Alhaji Sanusi Dangote, was a commodity trader. Dangote's grandfather was heavily involved in his upbringing and helped ignite his entrepreneurial spirit. For Dangote, one will ever assume his wealth was handed out or easily channeled, being an offspring of Dangote, but his success didn't come through daydreaming. Dangote complemented inherited fortune with deliberate hard work and innovation to pave his way to the top. Those who knew Dangote while growing up will not be surprised at his outstanding success. At age 8, Dangote uses pocket money to buy sweets, which he and others sell for a profit. Everything big in life starts from little. Taking a clue from this, Dangote, from a seed loan of 500,000 obtained from his uncle, started business, which he traded commodities and business supplies, primarily cement. By 1981, his firm was successful that he had incorporated other businesses and established the Dangote Group. His empire extended to foodstuffs, including sugar, salt, wheat, cement, haulage, and other business concerns. Among his holdings were Dangote Industries, Dangote Bale Nigeria, Dangote Cement PLC, Benue Cement Company PLC, Dangote Sugar Refinery PLC, Dangote Flour Mills, and Nascent Ally Industries PLC. In addition to his holdings in Nigeria, the Dangote Group has operations in several other African countries. With these giant strides in the business arena, Dangote will forever be grateful to his grandfather for giving him wings to fly. According to Forbes, an American business magazine, Dangote remains the richest man in Africa with an estimated fortune of $13.9 billion. Dangote is one Nigeria, highly decorated with honors as well. His urine service and huge investment also got him both local and international recognitions. Like the Guardian Man of the Year in 2015, he won the 2016 African Business Leader Award organized by the African American Institute. Dangote was cited as one of the top most influential Africans by the New African magazine in 2015, 2017, 2018, and 2019. He was recently conferred with the prestigious award of the National Order of the Lion by the President of Senegal. When it comes to breaking jinx, Dangote has it in full measures. He took his pioneering and jinx-breaking adventure to another dimension with the unveiling of the $20 billion refinery, widely adjudged as the largest single-train petrochemical refinery in the world. The refinery has the total capacity of 650,000 barrels of crude oil per day and is expected to earn as much as $21 billion in annual income. Situated on 2,500 hectares site at the Lekki Free Trade Zone, Lagos, it is supplied with crude oil by the largest subsea pipeline infrastructure in the world. When fully in operation, the refinery will provide 135,000 permanent jobs in the region. When it comes to family life, Dangote seems to, however, prefer maintaining a low profile. He got married to Zainab in 1977 but divorced at an unknown date. He was later married to Maria Mohammed Rufai. Dangote has 3 daughters named Halima, Maria, Fatima, and he also adopted a son named Abdurrahman. Dangote is one grounded authority that combines rare intelligence with self-effacing demeanor, a persona that naturally makes kindness. Like an eagle, Dangote's foresight and unusual business acumen make him a rare to come by. Though he owns chains of business in Nigeria and across Africa, the quest by this uncommon risk taker to conquer more business territories may not wane anytime soon.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the news. Now, last week, we remember reporting a story about tens of shop owners and market leaders from the Balogun market section of materials and Kampala market who stormed the Lagos State Government House on Friday, demanding an immediate halt and intervention of the government to rebuild the demolition exercise by the Lagos State Government Control Agency, LASBAC, currently headed by Bolahon Owodunioki. A SOUQ News TV flagship program today, SOUQ Business Landscape. Chooks John Rogers Chooks and Olumide Shokoya spoke with the secretary of Olorun Bebe Market Association, Abbas Akim Tajuddin. Here's an excerpt of the conversation.
We don't know how we are going to survive. We are playing on the governor to help us, make it easy for us. We are promoting African culture there. We have no other place to survive. Okay. We are paying school fees. Our children are there. So what do they want them to do?
Okay. Before the demolition, what was the disagreement that led to the demolition?
We don't have any disagreement. They just invaded our place by Alaska Edge. It's Mr. Bolahon Oki. He was there on the 31st that we should pack our goods. The land belongs to the government. Now, no, the land was controlled by LSDPC. No, I know they were under government, but it is not done in that way. They should have served us a prior notice, at least a month, so that we can get another place to relocate. Or they should give us a place to go, or they should relocate us to another place. But that one has not been done.
Okay, so if I may ask, you are one of the shop owners there, right?
Yeah.
When you moved there, who did you pay to? Who was the agent? Who did you liaise with?
We were relocated by the local government.
Okay.
Not individually.
Okay.
As
a group?
As a group, yeah.
Okay.
Since 1999, we've been there.
Okay.
We are operating there, and we are paying all our dues to the local government.
So you are paying straight to the local government?
We are paying all the deals, but it was allocated to us directly from local government.
Which of the local government?
Lagos Island.
Lagos Island?
Yeah.
Local government?
Local government, yeah.
Allocated that particular place for you?
Yeah.
Was there an agreement? Was there a document to back this agreement?
There is a document.
Okay.
Even by October, we just said even we didn't our allocation.
Okay.
They gave us 15 years allocation individually.
15 years. From what year?
From this last year to 2040,
Okay, so from 2025, they gave you 15 years allocation, which would expire. That's about
2040.
2040.
So this is up to 3 months that has been demolished. Though I don't know what they are doing about it.
Were you served any prior
we were not served any
before this demolition?
We were not served at all.
Now, you said that an official came to say that where you are, you're not supposed to be there, they're coming to demolish. Did he explain why? Did he give you any reason?
They never explained anything to us.
Welcome back. Now, the Lagos State Firefighting and Rescue Service received a distress call at approximately 13.08 hours regarding a fire outbreak at number 15 Pipeline Road off Ikoro Road, Abulegba. Upon receipt of the call, firefighting crews from the Agege and Abesan firefighting stations were immediately mobilized and deployed to the scene. Preliminary findings indicate that the fire occurred in an open space used for local recycling activities operated by some individuals of northern extraction. The incident unfortunately spread to an affected a nearby residential bungalow and a mini church within the vicinity. I'll bring you more of that story as details continue to unfold. Now, South Africa's government announced that on Sunday, the petrol prices will drop by up to 66% per litre, while diesel prices are set to fall by as much as 150 cents per litre from January 7th, 2026. The adjustment is part of the country's monthly fuel pricing review. Authorities said the reduction reflects a lower average Brent crude oil price and a stronger rand against the United States dollar. These factors contributed to a decrease in the basic fuel prices for petrol, diesel, and illuminating paraffin, benefiting consumers ahead of the new year. Market analysts noted that monthly fuel adjustment helps stabilize household expenses and transport costs while also reflecting global oil market movements. The cut comes as South Africa faces rising living costs, offering temporary relief at the pumps. Now, still in South Africa, the rand remained steady in early Monday trade as investors assessed the impact of U.S. military action in Venezuela, which has raised geopolitical risks and boosted demand for safe haven assets. The U.S. captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro over the weekend on drug trafficking charges, while President Donald Trump announced temporary American control over the country. Trump indicated that the major U.S. oil companies would invest in refurbishing Venezuela's oil infrastructure home at the world's largest reserves. Experts said the process could take years, limiting immediate effects on global oil supply. Despite the announcement, oil prices showed little movement due to Venezuela's already reduced output and exports. Analysts note that the rand's resilience reflects investor caution and a focus on broader market fundamentals rather than short-term geopolitical shocks. Currency watchers will monitor development closely for potential impact on trade and investment flows in the region. Now, Botswana plans to open an embassy in Moscow and has actively invited Russian investors to collaborate on rare earth and diamond projects. The country's foreign minister, Finyao Butale, told a Russian news agency on Sunday. The move signals Botswana's intent to deepen economic and diplomatic ties with the Russian state amid broader geopolitical tensions with the West. Butale described Botswana as a politically and economically stable destination, urging Russian investors to explore opportunities in the country's mineral-rich sectors. He said the government sees strong potential for mutual benefit and partnership in areas including rare earth, which are critical to modern technologies and the diamond industry. Analysts said Botswana outreach reflects Africa's growing role in global strategic resources market, with nations seeking diverse investment partners while Russia looks to expand its influence on the continent. Now, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung told Chinese President Xi Jinping on Monday that their summit provides a critical opportunity to fully restore bilateral relations. Lee said in his opening remarks that both countries are committed to strengthening their strategic cooperative partnerships and ensuring its development becomes an irreversible trend. The leaders are expected to discuss economic collaboration, regional security, and diplomatic engagement amid ongoing tensions in East Asia over Taiwan and Japan-China disputes. Analysts note that the meeting highlights Beijing's priority to solidify ties with Seoul as part of a broader regional diplomacy. Observers said the summit signals both nations' intent to maintain dialogue and economic collaboration despite complex geopolitical challenges, reinforcing South Korea-China relations as a cornerstone of stability in the region. Now, Chinese cyber attacks are targeting Taiwan's critical infrastructure, including hospitals and banks, increased by 6% in 2025, averaging 2.63 million attacks per day, the island's National Security Bureau reported. Some attacks coincided with military drills, reflecting coordinated hybrid threats aimed at disrupting Taiwan's systems. Taiwan has in recent years highlighted Beijing's hybrid warfare tactics, combining military drills near the island, disinformation campaigns, and cyber operations. Authorities said these efforts seek to exert political and military pressure to push Taipei toward accepting China's sovereignty claims. Analysts warn that such persistent cyber offenses heighten security risks for Taiwan's public services and financial systems. Observers note that the need for stronger defensive measures, international collaboration, and public awareness to counteract Beijing's growing cyber and hybrid influence. Now, United States President Donald Trump has warned that the United States could raise tariffs on India if New Delhi continues purchasing Russian oil, intensifying trade tensions between the two countries. The comments come amid ongoing negotiations over trade and energy policies. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, Trump said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi understood U.S. concerns and that tariffs could be increased very quickly if India fails to comply with Washington's demand to reduce Russian oil imports. The remarks follow months of trade discussions, including last year's doubling of import tariffs on Indian goods to 50% as a penalty for heavy Russian oil purchases. India's Commerce Ministry had an immediate comment on Trump's statement, leaving uncertainties over the next step in bilateral trade between both nations. And Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi on Sunday said that Beijing cannot accept any country acting as the world's judge following the reported capture of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. The remarks underscore China's opposition to unilateral intervention in sovereign nations. Speaking to Pakistani counterpart Ishaq Dar during a meeting in Beijing, Wang emphasized that China has never believed that any country can act as the world's police and rejected claims by any nation to assume such authority. He referenced sudden developments in Venezuela without explicitly naming the United States. Analysts also note that Wang's statement signals China's continued support for principles of sovereignty and non-interference in foreign affairs. Observers said Beijing is using diplomatic channels to counterbalance U.S. action, while reinforcing its stance on global governance and regional stability. Still to come in the news, President Donald Trump said the United States will temporarily administer Venezuela following the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. We'll bring you more after the break. Do stay with us.
At the heart of a strong currency lies a simple principle. The demand for local goods drives production, creates jobs, reduces reliance on imports, and ultimately stabilizes the exchange rate. Countries like Rwanda, South Africa, and Egypt have achieved remarkable success by investing in their own industries. Rwanda has built a textile industry that competes with foreign imports. South Africa has developed a powerful automobile sector, and Egypt has excelled in agribusiness exports. These nations have strengthened their currencies by prioritizing local production, consumption, and exports. Nigeria, with its vast resources, stands at the threshold of a similar transformation. When Nigerians buy locally made products, fewer dollars flow out of the country for imports, preserving foreign exchange reserves. As local industries become more competitive, they can also expand exports, particularly under the African Continental Free Trade Area, bringing in foreign exchange and strengthening the naira. In 2022, Nigeria spent over $9 billion on food imports. If just half of that had been directed towards locally made goods, it could have significantly reduced pressure on the naira. The key lies in industries with the potential to drive economic growth: agro-processing, textiles, automotive, technology, and leather goods. Nigeria is already a leader in agriculture, but to fully benefit, the country needs to move beyond exporting raw commodities to processed goods. Products like cashew nuts, shea butter, palm oil derivatives, and hibiscus flowers command higher prices internationally. Ghana earns about $2 billion annually from cocoa processing, while Nigeria's cocoa exports lag far behind. With investment in food processing plants and the branding of agricultural exports as premium African products, Nigeria can bridge this gap, reduce reliance on European imports, and tap into Africa's fast-growing middle class. The Nigerian fashion industry has also gained global recognition, but the country still imports billions of dollars in textiles. In 2021, Nigeria imported over $4 billion worth of textiles, while Ethiopia, using local cotton, earned $110 million from garment exports. By boosting local textile manufacturing and using Nigerian cotton, Nigeria could reclaim a significant share of the $15 billion African fashion industry, positioning cities like Lagos, Aba, and Kano as textile hubs. Nigeria's automobile sector also presents an opportunity. The country spends over $8 billion annually on vehicle imports. In contrast, South Africa's automotive sector contributes over $12 billion to its GDP and employs more than 100,000 people. By implementing policies that support local vehicle assembly and production, Nigeria can reduce import dependency, create jobs, and become the region's automobile hub. Nigeria's tech ecosystem, home to fintech giants like Flutterwave and Paystack, is already Africa's largest. If Nigerians prioritize homegrown software solutions, the country can reduce capital flight and strengthen its tech industry, making Nigeria a global player in technology. The leather industry, particularly in Kano, also holds significant potential. While Nigeria produces some of the finest leather in Africa, much of it is exported as raw material. If we focus on producing high-end leather goods like handbags, shoes, and belts, Nigeria can meet local demand and expand exports. Ethiopia's leather exports exceeded $133 million in 2022, while Nigeria's remained under $50 million. By branding and exporting premium leather products, Nigeria can become Africa's leather capital, boosting the Naira through increased foreign exchange earnings. To strengthen the Naira, Nigeria must prioritize investments in infrastructure, improve product standards, enhance branding, and implement policies that favor local manufacturers. Consumers must also consciously choose locally made products to create jobs and drive industrial growth. The success stories of Ghana, South Africa, and Ethiopia show that this strategy works. It is time for Nigeria to invest in and promote made in Nigeria goods, solidifying and strengthening the Naira for a more self-sustaining and prosperous economy.
Welcome back. Now, Canada has overtaken the United Kingdom as the preferred destination for international students seeking permanent residency amid tighter immigration policies in both countries and evolving public sentiment. A recent analysis by immigration policy observers and global mobility experts revealed that Canada's more consistent post-study immigration pathways and stable policy environment have made it more attractive to students targeting long-term settlements. The UK, once a leading destination, has seen a drop in preference following recent crackdowns on dependent visas and reduced post-study work options, prompting many students to pivot towards countries with clearer residency routes like Canada. Now, British consumer borrowing surged by £2.08 billion, an equivalent of $2.79 billion in November 2025, the largest monthly increase in 2 years, according to the Bank of England data released on Monday. The rise exceeded economists' forecast and followed October's £1.713 billion growth, signaling continued household demand ahead of Finance Minister Rachel Reeves' budget. The annual rate of consumer credit growth jumped to 8.1%, the fastest since May 2024, reflecting robust spending despite concerns over upcoming tax hikes. Alex Kerr, UK economist at the Capital Economics, noted that speculations about tax increase did not significantly affect household spending and the decisions in the short term. Reeves announced that £26 billion in tax rises in November 26 budget, though most were delayed. Analysts suggest that while borrowing remains strong, limited room exists for further consumer spending growth in 2026, highlighting potential constraints on household-driven economic momentum, according to reports. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump has highlighted welfare usage among immigrants' households, sharing a chart indicating that about 33.3% of Nigerian immigrants' households receive some form of public assistance in the United States. The data was posted on Trump's Truth Social platform on January 4th, 2026, as Republicans continue to press arguments linking immigration welfare, dependency, and economic contribution in domestic political debates. The chart, titled Immigrant Welfare Recipient Rates by Country of Origin, covers roughly 120 countries and territories. It's detailed the share of immigrant households accessing benefits such as food assistance programs, healthcare support, and other social services. Trump's post comes amid renewed focus on immigration policy ahead of key legislative battles, with supporters arguing that figures justify tougher controls. critics counter that welfare statistics lack context, noting differences in eligibility rules, household income levels, and labor participation rates, and warned that against using selective data to shape opinions nationwide. Now, United States will temporarily administer Venezuela following the capture of President Nicolas Maduro, pending what President Donald Trump described as a safe, proper, and judicious leadership transition. Trump made the announcement during a news conference on Saturday, January the 3rd, at his Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida, just hours after a U.S. military operations reportedly captured the Venezuelan leader and removed him from power. He stated that the move was part of efforts to stabilize Venezuela and support democratic reforms while ensuring peace and security in the region during the interim administration. Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, extended an offer on Sunday to work with the United States on a shared development agenda, signaling a shift toward conciliation after heightened tension. The statement marked the first conciliatory tone since U.S. forces reportedly captured President Nicolas Maduro. Rodriguez posted the message on social media, emphasizing her government seeks to prioritize respectful and cooperative relations with Washington, following earlier criticism of what she described as an illegal operation targeting the nation's oil resources. Observers said the move could pave the way for dialogue on economic, energy, and regional security issues, even as international scrutiny and remarks intensify. Analysts note that Venezuela is balancing domestic pressure with efforts to stabilize foreign relations and meet ongoing geopolitical and economic challenges. Now, in the world of sports, Nigeria continues their quest for a fourth African Cup of Nations title when they face Mozambique in the round of 16 on Monday at the Fez Stadium. A win will see the Super Eagles advance to the 12th quarterfinals, extending their record for last 8 appearances ahead of Egypt. Mozambique, meanwhile, the will to make the debut at this stage after reaching the knockout phase for the first time in the 6th attempt. The encounter promises a test of Nigeria's experience against Mozambique maiden knockout challenge. Historically, the two sides have met 5 times across all competitions, with Nigeria unbeaten against the Mambas, winning 4 and drawing 1. The Super Eagles will rely on their record and tournament momentum to progress further in Morocco 2025. Now, Robin Amorim's 14-month spell as Manchester United manager came to an abrupt end on Monday, a day after he passionately defended his position following a disappointing 1-1 draw with Leeds United. The club, currently 6th in the Premier League chart, said leadership had reluctantly made the decision that it is the right time to make a change to give the team the best chance to achieve a strong league finish. Amorim's dismissal marks the latest in a series of high-profile managerial changes at Old Trafford, reflecting mounting pressure on the club's leadership to restore consistent performance in England's top flight. And that's a wrap on the news, but before we go, here's a quick recap of today's top stories. The National Assembly released certified true copies of 4 key tax reforms acts to clear alleged discrepancies in the gazetted version. And Nigeria's 58.18 trillion naira 2026 budget struggles as Donald Trump's intervention in Venezuela threatens to boost global crude supply. And government of South Africa announces petrol price cut by up to 66% per litre as part of the monthly fuel pricing review. And Canada overtakes United Kingdom as preferred destination for international students seeking permanent residency amid tighter immigration policies. And Nigeria will continue their quest for a 4th Africa Cup of Nations title when they face Mozambique today. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at SOUQ News TV. I am Oyin Priya Krumale. Good afternoon to you and have a splendid day ahead.
Two widely used and deeply troubling terms dominate discussions around Nigerian emigration: japa and brain drain. Japa, a word that has made its way into the Oxford English Dictionary, means to leave Nigeria for another country, often Europe or America, in pursuit of education, job opportunities, or better economic prospects. It also connotes to escape or to flee. The second term, brain drain, refers to the outflow of skilled professionals, doctors, engineers, academics, and more, leaving Nigeria to contribute their talents to other nations. As a patriot, one might argue that both terms evoke concern. Japa is symptomatic of systemic failures that drive citizens away from their homeland instead of encouraging them to stay and push for reform. As authors Daron Acemoglu and James Robinson emphasized in Why Nations Fail, governance thrives under civic pressure. If the youth and professionals flee, who remains to demand accountability and enforce positive change? Likewise, brain drain depletes the country's human capital. When Nigeria's best-trained professionals are developing other nations, the country is left with fewer hands to build its own future. However, this narrative is shifting. As Bayo Olaoye explores in this special report, there is a compelling case for viewing the Nigerian diaspora not as a loss, but as an economic powerhouse. From brain drain to brain gain. Recent figures from the Nigerian Medical and Dental Council show that only about 27,000 of Nigeria's 71,740 registered doctors currently practice in the country. Thousands of Nigerian doctors, nurses, and health professionals now work in the UK and the US, contributing significantly to those nations' healthcare systems. It's a trend seen across professions, from teachers to tech experts. Critics argue these individuals should be at home, contributing to Nigeria's development. Yet, the picture is not so black and white. According to World Bank economists Art Cray and David McKenzie, poverty can often be a function of where one lives. For many Nigerians, staying home may mean remaining trapped in poverty. In that context, emigration is a rational choice and often a necessary one. Furthermore, the idea of brain drain has evolved into brain circulation or brain gain. Many Nigerians abroad are returning with skills, capital, and experience to invest in the country. Even those who don't return still give back. As Dr. Segun Aganga noted in Reclaiming the Jewel of Africa, diaspora Nigerians do not have to physically return to make an impact. Diaspora remittances, a lifeline for millions. Diasporans are sustaining the Nigerian economy through billions in remittances. Between 2018 and 2020, Nigerians abroad sent home over $65 billion, accounting for 4% of Nigeria's GDP. These funds uplift millions of households, offering relief from poverty, hunger, and economic despair. Remittances also help stabilize the naira, acting as a buffer against foreign exchange volatility. Yet, Nigeria is missing an opportunity to fully harness this potential. The Central Bank of Nigeria has imposed capital flow restrictions, forcing remitted dollars to be exchanged only at the official rate and in naira. This approach discourages larger inflows and stifles the remittance ecosystem. Diaspora trade and investment, the next frontier. Beyond remittances lies a massive opportunity in export trade. A Commonwealth Secretariat report highlights how countries with large diasporas have a comparative advantage in export markets. With over 20 million Nigerians abroad, this is a goldmine waiting to be tapped. Nigerians abroad crave products from home, be it fashion, food, film, or fine art. But to meet this demand, Nigeria needs a deliberate strategy to engage the diaspora. This means more than just ceremonial congratulations. It demands structured collaboration, policy coordination, and economic diplomacy. NIDCOM and the policy disconnect. The Nigerian Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, under the leadership of Abike Dabiri Erewa, has raised visibility on diaspora issues. However, its current focus remains largely reactive, centered around crises like human trafficking and consular support. For real impact, NIDCOM must collaborate with economic ministries, coordinate with trade and industry stakeholders, and act as a bridge between diaspora investors and local entrepreneurs. Beyond economics, political and institutional engagement. Nigeria must not reduce its diaspora to economic figures alone. They are citizens with a stake in the country's political future. That's why remote voting rights must be instituted, allowing diasporans to participate in national elections. Moreover, complaints about Nigerian embassies and high commissions, especially in the US and UK, must be addressed. Diasporans often face challenges with basic services like passport renewal, which leaves them feeling alienated and abandoned. This must change. The Nigerian diaspora is not a burden, it is a blessing. A sleeping economic giant that, if properly engaged, could help rewrite Nigeria's growth story. From remittances and trade to skills transfer and global influence, the diaspora is a strategic asset and not a national loss. What Nigeria needs is bold policy reform and a new mindset, one that sees migration not as failure, but as a force for economic revival. Japa may signal escape, but with the right vision, it can also spark renewal. I'm Moyosore Adebi for SOUQ News TV.
The Nigerian National Medicine Development Agency, NNMDA, was created in 1997 and backed by Act 2019 to enable the federal government of Nigeria through Federal Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation actualize its critical and strategic mandates to research, develop, document, preserve, conserve, and promote Nigeria's natural medicine defined as indigenous medicine. 4 Director Generals had steered the affairs of the agency since its creation 28 years ago. A new vista, however, opened in the history of the existence of the agency when Martins Emeje, a distinguished pharmacist and professor of nanotechnology, was appointed as the 5th Director General and Chief Executive Officer in May 2023. Before taking on the mantle of leadership at the NNMDA, Professor Martins Emeje was the Chair R&D at the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, with many feats on drug formulation and R&D results to his credit.
I deliberately applied for this job. There was advertisement. I applied. I wrote the exam. It was an online exam. Nobody saw anybody. And 1 hour exam online. When you submit your answer sheet, you have a copy of the answer sheet. So I have the copy of the answer that I submitted online that day. And that is my manifesto. So every month, I look at the answers that I submitted, and it guides me in the work that I do. As a researcher and proudly the first and only research fellow in Nigeria who is heading a research institute, I know exactly the problems of R&D in Nigeria, because nobody in Nigeria has or is currently heading a research institute, and he went through the rank and file from being a trainee researcher to an intern researcher, an NYSC researcher, and then a research professor. This is the background that I have.
Call him a round peg in a round hole, and you won't be wrong, as he hit the ground running, leaving a lot of innovations on his trail, achieving great strides in the areas of education, agriculture, and health, thereby raising the bar in R&D in natural medicine for the agency. From May 2023, when he was appointed, within just a few months, 4 oral solid dosage formulation products were unveiled.
My greatest moment actually happened on 8th of March 2024, when the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Chief Uche Naji, came to Lagos in the campus of NNMDA here to launch 4 oral solid dosage forms. It was not just the first time it was happening in NNMDA, the very first time it was happening in Nigeria. We decided that we will go for education as a major target, as a major KPI. And we went for it aggressively and got accreditation to start a 2-year national diploma in natural medicine. So this agency, for the first time in Nigeria, we now have a school of natural medicine. It's never been heard before. It happened in this administration within these 2 years. Within these 2 years too, because the country saw that we had made explosive advancement in this area, we got upgraded to what we call an awarding body for national skills acquisition in traditional medicine. One of the best medicinal gardens that you can find in Africa right now is in this country, owned by the Nigerian Natural Medicine Development Agency, and we did this these 2 years. In fact, two of our products that is waiting for Mr. President launch was we got our raw materials from our Nasarawa State Farm in Karo. Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the world. Cassava. The only country that competes with Nigeria is Brazil. Yet, Nigeria does not have value-added cassava products. Yet, Nigeria imports starch to make pharmaceutical products. We made a presentation to the National Assembly, and the Senate of our National Assembly supported us. So we went into development of pharmaceutical grade starch. Today, we have pharmaceutical grade starch. In health itself, we have developed and submitted to NAFDAC about 23 different products. 23. And they are all at advanced stage of NAFDAC's regulatory assessment at this point. Now, 3 of such products plus 5 of what we did the previous years is available, and people, because we are a research institution not capacitated or competent by reason of mandate and skilling to do marketing, we do proof of concept, and we wait for entrepreneurs of pharmaceutical industries, nutraceutical industries, food industries to come take them to the market, right? But we also owe, because, like I said, the huge component of the Renewed Hope agenda is that people should be attended to, so that they know that they cannot lose their hope completely in their country. So in this environment, anybody who wants drug for hypertension, for malaria, for erectile dysfunction, for arthritis, for diabetes, for hepatitis, for about at least 8 different disease areas, they come to our pharmacy here to get the drugs.
The past 2 years, under the leadership of Professor Martins Emeje, has seen human capacity development like never before. a development that propelled the agency's researchers into breaking new ground.
This agency had never, in its almost 30 years of existence, had never participated in any local conference where researchers went with work they did in their own laboratory to go make competitive presentation. In our maiden outing, in these 2 years, we won 2 awards. We went out for the first time and we got 2 awards. We took first position and we took third position. That is gold and bronze. When I came, I met researchers that have been here working for 15 years but with 1 degree. And I told them, you can't be a researcher with 1 degree. So I embarked on rigorous and aggressive drive to partner and collaborate with investors. So we went into that. Today, as I'm talking to you, we have at least 13 researchers and of the agency that are doing different postgraduate studies in different universities in Nigeria. I have a staff that was in Zimbabwe for 6 months. Now he has a master's in intellectual property. At least 7 of my staff have gone to India.
Quality assurance has been one of the top priorities of the NNMDA Director General and the accreditation of the agency's laboratory and product development unit for pharmacy internship program by the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria a year ago. Under the watch of Professor Martins Emeje, the agency recently graduated its pioneer pharmacy interns.
I went into nanotechnology or nanosciences after PhD, and I had to go out of the country to train in this area for more than 4 years. So it's an area that I'm keen about. I'm one of the first people, if not the first, in Nigeria to have put in practice nanotechnology. What it has done to me as someone who studied Western pharmacy, which is more like macro study, it is that it has taught me how to manage resources, no matter how simple.
The last 2 years has seen NNMDA signing important memoranda of understanding with reputable academic institutions and other critical stakeholders in the areas of training and laboratory services to Nigerian universities. As part of its advocacy and public enlightenment drive, the agency brought together critical stakeholders in the nation's natural medicine space for a national dialogue on rethinking natural medicine aimed at galvanizing the needed support and political will.
I want the president of Nigeria to just be coming on television and saying that people, natural medicine, no other thing. Natural medicine, let's do our own. Let's do our own. Let him just be saying it. Anytime he's talking to press, let him say it. Because once people know that this is where the president is, this is where his mind is, this is what his body language is, they will start investing in natural medicine.
A turning point for the agency was the resolution of the National Assembly on Natural Medicine Gazette. The visit by the chairman, House Committee on Legislative Compliance, was a further demonstration of the renewed impetus.
We cannot have 160 million people subscribing to something, and then the remaining 40 million people, you now want to say that foreign medicine, what to call allopathic medicine, that is the superior to our natural medicine. No, it's not. So when the House of Representatives passed that resolution, I told myself, I have now achieved. So what I was thinking would take me 4 years to achieve, actually, we got it done in 2 years. And it's one of the, so our target has actually increased. The best place to actually functionalize or operationalize Renew Hope agenda, Mr. President, is in the health sector. It's in the health sector. And I always tell people, 2 things that if you have security in it, then you are safe. food and medicine. Any intervention, any project that we do, that it is not about developing our own indigenous resources, is short-term. It's not sustainable. The only sustainable form of development is indigenous development. So anybody who wants to give me support now, I will just tell you what I want. For example, I want all my staff to live in this compound. If you go to other countries of the world, all these staff of the research institution, they live inside the compound.
Inspiring a new mindset among staff and attitude to work, for the NNMDA Director General, the task of achieving the mandate and the vision of the agency is work in progress.
My name is Muiba Wonu Folami, an indigenous of Lagos State, Ikorodu, to be specific. I was born in Lagos 86 years ago, and to the glory of God, I'm still alive and well, and trying to be a relative in the cause of women. I attended primary school. I started at Ansarudin Alakuru School. From there to CMS Girls School, and then Queen's College, Lagos. From Queen's College, I went to the Portsmouth College of Technology for my A-levels, and then University of London for my first degree in law. The same university for my master's degree in law. I had, between obtaining my master's and my first degree, I was in Nigeria to do the mandatory law school course. I was one of the last people to do a 3-month course before it was changed to 1 year. And then went back to England for my master's. And from there to lecture at the University of Zambia. Back to Nigeria, I was appointed by Dr. Taslim Elias, the CJ of Nigeria, to the Commission for Advance Notice to Lawyers of Developments in Law. It was a commission funded by the Ford Foundation to keep lawyers abreast of the developments in law. I was a director there. Then from there, I was admitted to the Federal Ministry of Justice. After being legal advisor to many ministries, I ended up as the Director of Public Prosecutions for the Federation. And after that, whilst I was the Director of DPP, I was appointed Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Lagos State. After retirement, I've been involved in social work, in religion. I've always had religion, but I spend more time on religion. I read, I watch telly, and I live a good life to the glory of God. You see, when you begin to think that it was not until 2007 that women started to get equal pay in tennis tournaments. And it was something that was fought for. Little things like that does not add to equality. But when it was done, it may be small, but at work, even at work in employment, women are still discriminated against. And most women do two jobs. They look after the home, and they do the normal work that a man does in an office. Why I fail to understand this inequality in the treatment of women is that the work, the responsibilities in the workplace is not reduced for women, even though we do not want to be paid the same salary as men. It's a fight that has continued, and in that area, I think we need to do more to push for more recognition. Women have contributed immensely to the society. The men that are now resisting equal pay were brought up by women. Exactly. That's what I do not understand, that they can think like that. We continue to push.
But how can we speed this up?
By bringing it to the attention of world powers, recognition by every country of equal opportunities, equal pay. I want to know, I want somebody to explain to me the jobs that women cannot do.
Yeah.
They've contributed immensely. Even in the new thing, IT, we're at par with men. So I do not see the reason for it. Unfortunately, I did not experience it, because when I left university, I practiced law briefly in my uncle's chambers before I went to University of Zambia as a lecturer. There, my position was enhanced in the sense that I was a foreigner, and I got all the benefits of being a foreigner, serving in their service. Fortunately, in Nigeria today, the federal government does not discriminate in terms of salaries. Whether you're a man or a woman, you get the same salary scale, and you are promoted on equal basis. Kudos to the federal government, to Nigeria for that. But in the private sector, things are different. In some companies, this is the areas that we have to work on, because the job content is the same. Some of these facilities are available in Nigeria. I learned by being a member of the Society for the Disabled that every government body must admit a certain percentage of women and of disabled people. So most times this opportunity is not taken. they are bound to employ them. We continue to push for that to be implemented in most ministries. It's important because it's there. You have to take a certain percentage of disabled people to work in government positions. It's important that we work to enforce that rule in our society. When it comes to discrimination, Nigeria is way ahead of some developed countries because we, through slavery, we faced discrimination right from the beginning. We now know how to resist it. But in my country, Nigeria, in the federal government, in the state government, there is no discrimination. It may happen in private organizations, but they must continue to push to let them understand that the job content is the same. Well, you see, traditionally, under our culture, women are in the other room. To borrow the quotation. Yeah. That's our society, that's our culture. It's going to take a long time to evolve. In my time, female education was not so-called popular. It's only the educated few that strove to send their children to school, their girl child to school. They end up trading with their mothers or going to market and getting married off early. But as education began to rise in our community, its value was seen by my parents and others of their contemporaries to educate the girl child. And I believe the society is benefiting from that. So we must continue to push for the education of women, of girls. I have thought that, when I read that, the certain state government has appointed look at our National Assembly, 4 women in the Senate. Isn't that shameful? And that is the society. We have to continue to push women up. Let these political parties know that we want women. Let us organize ourselves to continue to vote for women massively. I give kudos to our governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. His cabinet women is well represented in his cabinet. And I enjoy that, I love him for that. And I continue to urge him to do more. He's done a lot. I think Lagos State has the largest representative of women in cabinet. First of all, they have to project themselves in their office space, their workspace. Let everybody know that they are equal to the task. Let us organize. There's a lot of society groups and societies that cater for the interest of women. I believe now violence against women is reducing in the society because there are sanctions for such behavior. I must say that speaking to the organization in charge of violence against women. I was amused to learn that some men come there to complain that they are also being violated and abused.
Yes, it's a two-way
It's a two-way thing. So that is reducing our society. Education of the girl child is important. We have to let the locals know that education is important. Let them showcase to them the lives of those who have been educated and who are holding high positions. I'm glad that our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has returned history to the classrooms. It's important. Let them know about people that have contributed to the development of our societies and country. It's important. Yes, it's education. It's education. Once people are educated and they know that there is nothing a man can do that a woman cannot do when it comes to the workplace. We have women engineers, miners, and also all of that. Give me a job specific that a woman cannot do, then I'll change my views. So the moment you begin to upgrade education, let government now continue to vote more for education. I don't believe we are doing enough. There is a UN convention, and I think Nigeria is part of that convention, that a certain amount of a nation's income should be devoted to education. I'm not sure whether Nigeria is complying with that. But some states are better than others. And we must, education, I believe in education of the girl child. Some states now are taking children, girls off the street. Walking is completely prohibited. Things like that will help. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we are not advanced enough to use our votes to change things. We are still not voting for individuals. We are voting for parties, irrespective of performance. Education will help. And when we join other nations for the same purpose, we get results. Our organizations who are fighting for women in Nigeria should join worldwide organizations to showcase our own situation and learn. I believe that when you talk to others, you come back with ideas on how to improve things. So we must improve things by telling women in positions to continue to prove that they are more than up to the task. It will not come to us on a platter of gold. We must show by our actions and behavior that we are up to the task. Of course, some women are wrong in claiming equal rights to their husbands in the house. I completely abhor that behavior. Even though they are husband and wife, the man in my culture remains the head. respected, his youth should be respected. It's only now the condition of living is so high that you join the two incomes together to run the house. In the past, it was the men that ran the house to pay for everything. Maybe some of these women are thinking that because they are contributing a quota to the development, that they have equal rights. Yes, they have equal rights on the upbringing of the children in their homes and everything. But respect is important. That will keep the home, and the children will learn and imbibe it into their own children too. Equal right does not, in my view, mean that you can be good, can not submit to your husband's wishes. Equal right means something differently. Respect comes out of it. It's important. I go out and I'm like appalled at the way women dress. There's a competition to show as much of your body, to do that much as your as much of your body that you can. It's absolutely disgusting. They're not women. They're no longer women. The exposure, things that if you did in my time, a member of the community will cover you with a cloth and send you home. Because community mattered at that time. You dare not misbehave outside your compound because this community is watching you and reprimanding you if you go wrong, if you behave badly outside. That is law. And that is why you see people, even their dressing, show disrespect to womanhood and to themselves and to the community. We must learn, teach our children etiquette of dressing, speech, how to think and speak in a decent manner. We don't have it anymore. We're losing it, and it's shameful because people are appreciating naked women on the streets. Yeah. Size. If people dress badly and you tell them and ignore them, they won't try the next time. For instance, I believe nobody can dress to come to my house or to come to my party like a naked woman. I will turn her back. I will turn her back. So that's the type of thing that we should all do. Let the people doing this know that we do not appreciate things like this. When the society itself corrects it, we must correct it individually. If their parents cannot correct it, we must, by ignoring them and not allowing them to come near us. Our women that have contributed to the society. Yeah. Show them, showcase them, showcase them. Yeah. We have the first woman senior advocate of Nigeria. We have Okonjo Iweala. We have, in the UN. We have all sorts. We have what's this pharmaceutical woman. She's done so much. The younger ones are there. Little ones like Shadi Okoya is managing her husband's company and doing well. Let's encourage them. They are young. The young ones, they are working to improve the society. There's so many of them out there. We should showcase them. Let them know that we have women who are of top quality, intelligent, and well-behaved, and they dress well. Dressing well is dressing in a manner that is appealing to the eyes, not nakedness. That's my darling, this new CJN of Nigeria.
Okay.
Who do that? I did talk about Kikirieko. I mean, we're there. Female CJN.
Yeah.
And there are so many female chief judges all over the Federation. There are so many in the medical profession, in the engineering profession. We have pilots. So let them know that there is nothing that a woman cannot do. In IT, in everything, women are moving forward. We should showcase them. We should let their pictures be seen in our newspapers, in our news, in everything, to encourage young girls that you too can get there. If they don't see, and if they don't know the history of these women, how they got there, they too will not be inspired. We have to inspire the young people with the achievements of women achievers. Kekere rose from magistrate to right to the top. I admire her. She's well composed, well behaved. Some of these people, when they become something, they lose their heads. They start to no. She's so respectful, well behaved, well dressed. I don't think she would allow herself or her children to come out naked. Never. So people like that, Okonjo well are the same. We have a lot.
Nigeria, rich in traditional and cultural heritage, is intentional about promoting history and retaining cultural values. The country has succeeded in preserving its identities and that of the forefathers for ages through folklores, folk tales, traditional ceremonies, community-based initiatives, cuisine, and most notably, museums and cultural centers. These institutions serve as invaluable repositories of history, ensuring that future generations remain connected to their roots and appreciate the diverse cultural tapestry of the nation. In Nigeria, there are over 38 museums comprising national, state, and privately owned institutions scattered across the country. Each of these museums plays a crucial role in safeguarding Nigeria's vast historical wealth, with collections that reflect the uniqueness of different ethnic groups, traditional practices, and historical transitions over time. In Lagos, the National Museum, located at the center of the city in Onikon, claims a notable collection of Nigerian art, including pieces of statuary, carvings, archaeological and ethnographical exhibits, among others. Of particular significance is the terracotta human head, known as Jema head, dated between 900 and 200 BC, which is part of the renowned Nok culture. The piece is named after Jema, the village where it was discovered. The museum is administered by the National Commission for Museums and Monuments and remain a key educational and historical attractions for visitors. Another prominent artifact housed within the museum is the famous Benin bronze head, an evidence to the artistic excellence of the Benin Kingdom.
The museum has a lot of functions, some of which are to educate, to entertain, research, interpretation, conservation and preservation of our cultural heritage. And then the museum was established, Lagos Museum particularly, was established in 1957. was formerly referred to as Department of Antiquities. So, well, the journey so far has been interesting because, you know, we are here, you know, to showcase our cultural heritage, not just to the country, but to the world. And we've had, you know, we have series of, you know, events that we do, you know, that involve the community. And because of that, we create that awareness that this is where you can come and, you know, see and feel your cultural heritage, your traditions, your history. Because it is said that a people without a history is a people without identity. So the museum portrays this to the people. And over the years, that is what we've been doing. Through education, community participation, you know, we have galleries, you know, that we display some of our objects, our antiquities, that showcase our patrimony and all there is to know about our cultural inheritance. And so the museum, you know, has been doing that over the years, and, you know, we still keep doing more.
The Lagos National Museum was founded in July 1957 by English archaeologist Kenneth Murray, following the submission of architectural sketch in 1948 at a conference on museum policy in Nigeria. Kenneth Murray collected several traditional marks from Cross River State to display in the museum's early years, according to historical records. The primary purpose of structuring the museum was to preserve Nigeria's historical artifacts and cultural heritage. Fortunately, that vision has remained alive to this day. The museum serves as a significant tourist attraction for Lagos residents and international visitors alike, offering an immersive glimpse into the nation's past. Some of the remarkable artifacts currently on display at the museum include the bullet-ridden car in which former Nigerian head of state, General Murtala Muhammad, was assassinated, pictures of previous rulers and presidents of Nigeria from different eras, a diverse collection of cultural drums, tools, and ceremonial staffs from various ethnic groups, historical crowns and caps of revered traditional rulers symbolizing their power and authority, photographs of Queen Elizabeth II and her entourage during her visit to Nigeria, reflecting moments of colonial history.
It's so immense. Museum is a reminder of what the society is all about, because a number of us are missing the link. We don't even know the role, the significance of the society we find ourselves because of foreign influence. But when you come to museum, it will bring your mind back to the original habitat, the way of life of people, how things should be seen in the society, and how we should react to phenomenal changes in our environment. Basically, we'll be doing this work of educating the general public, not only Nigerians, over 20-something years here, and the impact has been so tremendous, to the point that what we do at the museum is in consonance with the curriculum of our institutions, from primary, nursery, primary, secondary, even tertiary, even people in their corporate organization. They deem me free to come to National Museum anytime they feel like we are missing the link, we have missed a lot of things concerning the way of life of our forefathers. You know, even here, apart from that, we do have what is called seminar. We organize seminar for expatriates, for individuals to come around on Wednesdays, to come and listen and learn on cultural-based subjects.
I think it's great. I mean, I particularly like the circle of life that is presented in here, right? From birth to reincarnation to external influences. I think it gave a good history of Nigeria. I learned a lot about that. There seems to be some real big connection between Nigeria and Benin in terms of the history that I wasn't totally aware of. I was able to see the different artifacts and stuff that were presented. So it was quite interesting. They did, I think, a pretty good job doing a comprehensive tour or comprehensive history of Nigeria and its culture and its surrounding areas.
A visit to the Lagos National Museum offers an enriching experience, transporting visitors back in time and allowing them to connect with Nigeria's rich and diverse history. The museum provides an opportunity to explore stories of resilience, artistry, and governance that have shaped the nation. Whether you are a history enthusiast, a student, or simply a curious traveler, stepping into this museum promises a nostalgic journey through Nigeria's past, fostering a deeper appreciation for its cultural legacy. Nigeria continues to reflect the stories that shapes its people, steadfast in its commitment to promoting history and preserving its cultural values for generations to come. Grace Komolafe, SOUQ Perspective.
Well, thank you once again for inviting me over. What would I say? Just doing a lot of wonderful things all over the world, working towards development of humanity in the areas of most especially sports development, football management, football administration, and other businesses I'm involved in. So that's what I've been up to. Well, basically, the National Sports Commission is there to ensure that sports development is put in the proper perspective. There are a lot of papers, a lot of policy papers, a lot of things that have been put in place. So they need to go into it, look at it, and structure something positive out for the development of sports in the country. I'm sure they have all what it takes to do it, and the zeal and the power to go ahead and put those things in place. So that's basically what they need to do. How the implementation is key. And I know, well, one way or the other, they should have the wherewithal to do it. So I wish them all the best. Well, you see, I don't like criticizing. I think I've gone away from areas of criticizing, but the standard of the league is very poor, and they have to put all efforts together to improve on the league. Also, the technicalities of the game, the manpower. We have to, we're still doing what we practiced 15 to 10 years ago, so it's not changed. So all those things have to change. We have to go away from the mediocre ways of running the game and putting more investment in development of the game itself. Clubs have to be, it's so sad that we in Nigeria prefer to watch the Premier League compared to the Nigerian Premier League. It's a sad story. I remember 40 years ago, you could go to the stadium and watch our local, amateur league, and there were standards. So there's no reason why we can't bring that back. It's the wherewithal, the willpower to do it, and the stem from, having to go away from the area of mediocrity, where we bring in professionalism. We have the people that can do it, without any doubt. But for the system to allow them come in and do those things is another question. How that is going to be done, we've talked about it for many years, but nothing has been done about it. I pray and I hope someday they'll put up the proper perspective and the willpower to do those things. When it comes to grassroots football, we really have to start with kids from a very early age. We must have we have to start with them from age 5 to 16, to 18, to 20. So you have to have a sequence, a system where you build around from the very younger ones, and you have a uniform structure. Number one, we have to identify the kind of football we want to play in Nigeria, our type of flow, our ethos, what we want to play. And then we can now imbibe that, put it in our kids from a very early age. So from age 5, you go under 5 to under 8, under 8 to under 12, under 12 to under 16, under 16 to under 18. You have those structures in place. And it's spread around the nation. Now, where it's not the under 5 or under 18 where you put a 20-year-old or 25-year-old. You have to have a system where those kids are registered and we can monitor them from a very early age. You understand me? Where we don't cheat, where we bring in the right age and we train them to perform at different age group levels. And going into from there and then going into the national sides. So we can start playing the under 10, under 15, or under 16, under 18. You understand me? So those structures have to be in place, which we don't have today. There must be uniformity. You understand? So if we can do that in the future, we will progress. But there must be a system in place. We must have coaches that have been trained to work with the kids from that very early age. And those coaches are trained within the system, within the Nigerian Football Federation, and then they're sent out to work with those children all over the nation. The football academies we have today are only out to sell players. You understand me? So what I'm saying here is where we have, I'm not saying academies shouldn't sell players or not. Those players in the academies, if we have uniformity, should be playing in the league. And then we must have a cap where we say, look, until you're a certain age, you can't leave the country. You must play in that league because we've invested in you. We've invested in those kids. So maybe they will have to play till they're 20 or 18 or 19 where they can now go out, you understand, to play abroad. But there must be a structure in place. And there must be laws guiding it. That's the only way we can excel. It also goes to it also goes back to what I've been saying. The girls, the female team in Nigeria today, I believe the girls, I call them girls or ladies, are the ones that will ever win the World Cup first. Because they got the capacity, they got the women football, they can win the World Cup. They've got what it takes. But then it now goes back to our attitude and the corruption in the system. You understand me? If you allow the other girls from a very early age develop, and you have the same system I'm talking about, that cap of under 5, under 8, under 10, and you structure and you do it continuously in uniformity, we will be world beaters. We will win the World Cup at any given time because the women have got the grit. They pick up very faster than our men. They tap the balls. They are more technically better, within that range. So, but it's for us to develop those things and to take away corruption. First, when we talk about indigenous coaches, what coaches do we have? You see, if you don't have a competitive league, a highly professional league, how do you want to get good coaches? You can't get good coaches. The coaches, it's not that we don't have the capacity to build good coaches. We have a lot of talents in this country that can be world beaters, that could be top coaches. I talk to young stars. Young stars will talk to you about the technicality of the game. They're very bright. Even my son, when he talks to me about football, I think he knows the game better than I do today. The technicalities of the game, you understand me? the formations, how players play back and forth. It's because you're giving them the exposure. And we need to give our youngsters that exposure. We need to develop them. That's what we're not doing. We have to invest in them. But for now, we have not done that. And what we're doing today is those bunch of coaches we have are not good enough to run the national team at that level of competition. I have one or two of them in America that are sound, for, you know, they're there. But how many of them can you bring into the system? You understand me? Our local coaches, we need
National Institute of Sports.
Now, please, let's forget about the National Institute of Sports. That I use a word, it's been alamalized. That's a very poor system. You know, it has nothing. We have nothing there. I'm serious. I'm not running anything. Our National Sports Institute is a disgrace. So we shouldn't be talking about that. Yeah. If you want to talk about a National Sports Institute, then you go to Australia and other countries and you see what it is. You see the standards. We don't have those things. Ours is archaic.
Is it beyond redemption?
There's nothing beyond redemption. It can be, you know, we can work on it. We can develop it. We just have a time frame, work around it. See, there's nothing we cannot do in this country. We got everything possible to do it. It's the wherewithal. Do we have that mindset to do it? Are we ready for it? Those are the things we have to look at. Or do we want to continue with our mediocrity? But really, sincerely speaking, there's nothing impossible. We can do anything here. We've got great youngsters. We have to remove all this old, archaic way of thinking and then bring in a more modern, professional approach to things. So that's it. The media is one of the most corrupt anyway, I'm sorry to say. The sports media and all that, the sports writers. I worked in the system, I know how corrupt they are. Majority of them are corrupt. I'm saying it. They can challenge me, but it's the truth. Until we get rid of all those things, where our boys go and collect envelopes to write or favor people, we're not going to get anywhere. I'm not saying the press in general, but the sports writers are a disgrace. See, the supporters club is not going to do anything or develop football. This is just to travel, get things. Oh, it's fine. It's good to have fans. But what has that got to do with football development? Nothing. Supporters club is not going to do anything. They're playing their own politics. You understand me? They want to travel. That's it. Travel around the world, do things. But is that part of football development? That is not football development. So let's leave that aside. We're talking about the professional, the technicalities, what it takes to develop national sides or a proper league. Then the supporters club has nothing to do with it. Do you see, how many people do you see at stadiums in Nigeria instead of watching football? Scanty, there's nothing. It's not like in the days where in the 70s or even in the 60s, if you're going to play a game at 4:45 in the afternoon, the stadium is full to capacity. At 11 in the morning. You don't have that anymore. So what are we talking about supporters club?
Is there a way we can bring that back, that passion?
Yeah, if you build a league that, you know, has the quality, the professionalism, and all the standards are put in place, then you can bring them back. Then you can bring the crowd back. I think it's very unfair to call it lesser sports. All sports are tops. Yeah, it's very wrong to call them. They're top sports. Basketball is tops. Athletics is tops. It's very wrong. I think it's very unfair to call them lesser sports. See, bottom line is the politics, the greed. You understand me? We have top talented basketball players all over the world. We could put them together. It's all about management. It's all about commitment. But you don't have those things there. It's about myself. It's all about self-aggrandization. What do I get from this? It's not about what do we do to build these teams or these athletes to be world beaters. Do you understand me? So you're not going to get anything out of it. You will never. It's the bottom line. You'll never ever get anything. So you'll always have factions, you'll always have people fighting. Why do you fight for what? If you can collectively come together to build a system, a structure for basketball, for example, because the girls are tops, they can perform, they can do far better than where they are today. I always tell you, the female teams in Nigeria will always excel in athletics, in basketball and all that. Our male are a bit arrogant and clunky in doing things, but the ladies are always more committed. They've got what it takes, but they need good management. It's not that the men can't do it too, the men can do it, but it all also evolves with good management. Taking away politics, taking away greed, not a situation where a coach is collecting money from a player to put a player in the team, or a member of the football association fighting for their children or family to play in the national team, or a member of government is asking someone to put their kids in the team. No, that's not it. Where is the nationalism? Where's that patriotism? Patriotism. I don't care where you come from. If you're good, you're good. If you're better than my own people, then my own people have to sit down and you let them, the others that can perform. Where would you have quota system in football? Where's that done? Do you understand me? So we have a lot of issues we need to resolve. Well, what do you expect? The athletes themselves are far more successful and far more exposed than the administrators. So the administrators obviously are always envious of those ones, and they make life difficult for them. Do you understand me? Where you have people that are not competent enough running a system, people that are not exposed, that haven't got the professional ethics to run the thing, that's what you get. Then the greed aspect, which is a standard norm for us in this country. Greed. Where people believe athletics is only, being a member of the Athletics Federation is all about traveling. You understand me? He wants to travel, she wants to travel. She wants to be in the, in the group of people that are going away. See, you can never get no results. They're all fighting to get something. And then they don't care about the athletes. They want to be in a delegation that is going to travel. Do you understand me? So that's basically it. They're not interested in the development. They haven't got the zeal. You understand me, sir? So once you don't have those things, you can never get anything right. Yeah, the private sector is one. The cricket has more because, government involvement is not as, I think you have more of the private people, interested private people that have gone to schools, top schools, that played cricket in those days. Those are the ones that are promoting cricket. So you're going to get results, you understand me? Because they're far more exposed, they understand what it takes. So the commitment is there. They're using their own funds to push to develop the game. You understand sports. So that's why cricket is picking up. Oh, you mean the National Sports Festival? I think for now we don't really need that. We need to do more with the private sector. I think the new chairman of the National Sports Commission, he seems he's an exposed person. I think he's got to sit right and see how he can profile solutions to these things and change the course of. He's got what it takes to do it. He just has to come out of that shell, come out of that darkness. I'll call it darkness, and come into real light. I think he has it. But National Sports Festival, I don't think we're ready. We really need that now. We need to do more with youth development programs. You see, a national sports festival in those days was more interesting because you had more schools, inter-school sports. And that is where the best athletes came from. We don't have that anymore. So first we need to build the school sports, schools, athletics and all that, build it to a standard and then go into national sports festivals. For now, we don't have that. And I think the National Sports Commission has to look into that, how they can work with the Ministry of Education and see how they can build that again. School sports. That's where you get the best. In those days, the best athletes, we knew those that will run, that will actually participate and run for Nigeria. We knew the ones that will do high jump, long jump, triple jump. We knew them, both female and females, from secondary school. You don't have that anymore. So where do they come from? Nowhere. So now you have, like in those days where some schools will go and get mercenaries, pay for them to come and run. That's what you get today. So it's corrupt. Now, the Sports Commission has to work on that. It has to change it. And I know they can do it. They just need to sit back and look at how they will change the course of things. If you want to unite Nigeria with good sports, then you got to give them good results, good teams that can perform. You understand me? In the process of winning competitions, or they have a team, or they have teams that have got the quality that can move the nation, then you unite. Everybody wants to watch good football. Everybody wants to see a great athlete running. You want to see a good high jumper performing at the best. When you see that, it draws everybody together. If you have a good national team that plays excellent football, look, in Nigeria, when you look at our team, the 94 team, we were the 5th in world ranking. You were talking about ranking, which I don't really. When we really had a good ranking, we were number 5 in the world. The 94 team was number 5. The World Cup 94, we were rated as the 5th best team in the world. And you look at the style of football we played. We developed our own style of football, took it to the world, and we were respected. We don't do that anymore.